Tonight on the Black Channel, how do you create an icon? Just add water, shake and stir? Is that the way you do it? Let's be clear. You do not create icons. Icons are born. Heroes are born. And those heroes are chosen by righteousness and chosen by the people. You can't just put somebody in place and say, here's your hero. Especially when they're a person who never did anything heroic. In fact, they were the villain. But what it does show you is that when you're in a psychopathic society that sees themselves as the villains, they relish the role, by the way. But it's getting hard. It's getting hard and it's getting tough, and it's been hard and it's been tough, and it's not going to get any better. As a matter of fact, they would do themselves some great favors right now if they would just let this evil slop go. They're not able to do that because, you see, they don't have anybody. They don't actually have anyone. When they were actually required to produce a hero, somebody for folks to look up to, all they have is one of the most villainous scum you could possibly imagine. That's all they had. And instead of them being intelligent and cutting their losses, they are instead recycling the same garbage and sewage. And this will only help us. It will only help us. I'm talking to you all tonight about the attempt by President Donald the Dunce Trump to take Charlie KKK Kirk and to repackage white supremacy. The desperate and pathetic attempt to repackage white supremacy. We'll be going over a few things here tonight. One of the things in particular I want to start with here, I want to start with CNN. They spoke to Jasmine Crockett, and I'd like for you all to hear what Jasmine had to say in regards to the vote to honor Charlie KKK Kirk. I want you to hear what Congressman Crockett had to say.
Talking about a resolution that came before the House this past week honoring Charlie Kirk. And there were 58 Democrats who voted against it. You were one.
Yeah.
Why?
Absolutely. You know what? One of the things I do want to point out that's not been laid out that honestly hurts my heart is when I saw the no votes, there were only 2 Caucasians. For the most part, the only people that voted no were people of color.
Well, Jasmine, there were a whole bunch of quote unquote people of color who voted yes. They didn't just vote no. They voted yes. So that people of color thing, I don't know. Look, folks, I'm just going to say this straight out. In politics, there are a whole bunch of folks who they got on by getting gotten on. I'm not going to cast any aspersions, but Kamala Harris wasn't the only one who that was their thing. So when you hear little buck toot talk like that and little soft shoe talk like that, and they're kind of nibbling around the edges, I just want you all to know where that comes from. Damn, Jason, that was rough. It was also true. It's also true. Just saying.
Because the rhetoric that Charlie Kirk continuously put out there was rhetoric that specifically targeted people of color. And so it is unfortunate that even our colleagues could not see how harmful his rhetoric was specifically to us. And I can tell you that a month prior to him passing away, he had actually gotten out on his podcast. I wasn't aware of this at the time, but he got out there and he was talking negatively about me directly. So if there was any way that I was going to honor somebody who decided that they were just going to negatively talk about me and proclaim that I was somehow involved in the great white replacement, yeah, I'm not honoring that kind of stuff, especially as a civil rights attorney and understanding how I got to Congress, knowing that there were people that died, people that were willing to die, that worked to make sure that voices like mine could exist in this place. So to me, just like we wanted to make sure that those Confederate relics were taken down, the idea of a new age relic being propped up was something that I just could not subscribe to. And it is unfortunate that more of my colleagues, even on my side of the aisle, could not see the amount of harm that this man was attempting to inflict upon our communities.
Could not see? What the hell kind of OnlyFans rejects language is that? Could not see. These people have been in the Congress way longer than her. So they just couldn't see, and I don't see how they couldn't see. Why is it we got white supremacists in the Republican Party and white supremacists in the Democrat Party, and votes like this are what expose and show who is who? And what you see is, in the Democrat Party, what she should have said is we have just as big of a white supremacy problem in the Democrat Party as you have in the Republican Party. And this vote simply exposes that there's a whole bunch of them in the Democrat Party. Now, you say that right there, and that's it. You said everything. You said everything. Folks out there are very, very upset. They're very, very upset. They tried to have a memorial for Charlie Kirk. As you can see, it was exactly what you would expect it to be when we say these are the savages and the barbarians. They went there to go have a savages meeting, and that's exactly what it was. But many of them are much more upset about other things, because you see, the problem for Charlie Kirk is the more that you dig, the more you look into, the more of him that you listen to, the worse the white supremacy gets. You don't sit up here and play his show and get less racism. You play his show, and the more you play, the more racist it gets. Case in point.
When I get on an airplane, I want my pilot to be like, "Hi, this is Chad." Maybe like a little bit of a Southern accent.
Chad Buckworth here.
No, Chad.
Blake is fine.
This is my 31,000th hour. I'm kind of bored, honestly.
I could do this in my sleep.
But exactly. I want just like cookie cutter, like pilot. Yeah, this is so easy to me. I don't want LaQuisha James.
They have that like pilot voice,
and she's just like, "Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Pray for me."
And the truth is it's just this is a creation that the left wanted, because
and they think you can't say anything about it because they'll call you a racist. And this is where we really have to take the gloves off and say your name calling will not get in the way.
Okay, let's be very, very clear about Charlie Ku Klux Klan Kirk. He was not a smart guy. He was not a brilliant guy. He wasn't quick. He got his ass handed to him on a regular basis. When he tried to debate a professor, it went horrendously. When he went to Cambridge, it went catastrophically. He got schooled. The only people he can sit up here and talk to are high schoolers who don't even know the issues. So it's like having some rogue substitute teacher taking over the class. And that's it. However, I want to take this as a moment here to discuss this. Anybody who would try to support this in any way, anybody who would try to do that in any way, shows how ignorant and foolish they are. There's the issue. It shows how foolish they are. Because under these circumstances, what you would have here are people who are not aware that you don't just get to walk up and go be a pilot. If you're a pilot, you have to go through dozens and hundreds of hours first. You have to go through hundreds of hours first. Nobody is allowed to go into a commercial airplane and "My name's LaQuisha James, pray for me." That's not the way that works. People, do you know the FAA regulations? You have to do hundreds of hours. Nope, they're not going to let you into a $200 million jet and you're still working on the idea of how to fly an airplane. Why is it that nobody stopped him and said, "You know what, you're definitely a white supremacist because you can't get into a pilot seat unless you know what you're doing. You can't get there without that." So why is it that before now, nobody stopped and say, "Dude, you're really showing your Ku Klux Klan colors here," because You can't be an airline pilot without passing your hundreds of hours. An airline is not going to take you. You have to, nobody is a pilot of a commercial airplane unless they know what they're doing. People, if you've seen the cockpit of a commercial aircraft, do you know how many, there's like a couple of dozen dials and gauges and buttons. You can't guess your way through taking it off. You can't guess your way through that. Why is it that nobody stopped to say, dude, you sound like a white supremacist, prepubescent, juvenile delinquent. I mean, you look like one too, but yeah, dude, find something else. Nobody has ever gotten on an airplane and been greeted by pilot Jaquisha Jones praying that they land. That's just pure racism and white supremacy. It doesn't happen because it can't happen. She would never be able to pull away from the runway at the airport. She'd never be able to pull away from the gate at the airport. She'd never be able to do it. Apparently, Charlie Kirk was under the impression that flying an airplane was the equivalent of driving a scooter. Apparently, that's what he thought it was. Somebody should have asked him, do you know what it takes to make an airplane take off? Oh, good, Charlie. Why don't you describe it to me? What does it take to get a commercial airliner off the ground? An Airbus? A Boeing 737? Tell me what it takes, Charlie. People, you can't, if you go through pilot school, you have to train with one of the trainers. They're not going to sign off on you unless you're actually ready, because if you have a bad showing, you could get them killed. You could get them killed. So that was never going to happen in the first place. The deeper you dig, the more racist it gets. This is why they don't want people talking about it, because the deeper you dig, the more racist it gets. And this is why they were trying so desperately this week to silence anybody. Now, when you have a real hero, you don't have to resort to silliness. By the way, I left a comment on there. I said, you post hours of audio of Charlie KKK Kirk saying racist things, and the best his white supremacist followers can do is say, you're playing his words out of context. You don't have 10 years of out of context audio, stupid. You can't have a decade of out of context audio. Just remember, folks, if your response to everything is, it was out of context, so everything being said is out of context, and it's just out of context, it's out of context. Dude, you can't quote somebody for a decade and everything that they say is out of context. You should be telling us all about the good side of what that means, what he said. Please understand something, people. People who follow me, follow my program, you all don't ever have to get into you're taking Jason out of context. You all have never had to defend me on those terms. Somebody is taking me out of context. Understand, you have already been defeated if you are constantly having to say you were taken out of context when people are playing back your words. People, this is 55 seconds of audio, people, almost a whole minute of audio, and they're telling you that this entire almost a minute of audio, you just don't understand what it means. You just don't get it. You're twisting his words. We're twisting his words by repeating them, by playing them back. That's how you twist somebody's words? No, what you're saying is, oh yeah, he sounds as racist as he is, and there's no way to defend this. That's how you know the battle has been lost. It's already over. It's already done. You're supposed to be proudly playing these moments. That's what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be proudly playing these moments and puffing your chest out about how proud you are to replay these things. When you're running from your hero's words, You don't have a hero, you have a bastard and a villain. If you're running from your hero's words, you don't have a hero. You have a heel. You don't have a hero. And what they're upset about is that you're playing his words back. Oh, man. You see, what was supposed to be happening was the great grand repackaging of white supremacy. It was supposed to be the great grand repackaging of it. They were supposed to be sitting up here and reintroducing these things into the modern era, and redeeming it was what they were supposed to be doing. They were supposed to be desensitizing us. Listen very carefully what I'm telling you here. There have been two strategies at work. I've been saying this. I've been repeating this. I am going to beat this like a drum. There have been two strategies at work. In the case of KKK Kirk, the strategy was to introduce these racist concepts and in YouTube, is to make a YouTuber who would introduce these racist concepts and racist words that would no longer be hiding in the closet. That was the idea here. That was the idea here. So instead of these things being mumbled, you'll send out a crash dummy, completely disposable. We'll see if he sinks or swims. And he's going to spew the hate for you. And he'll make it popular for millennials and Gen Z. So that was the thing, is to get the white supremacist talking points out in the open, on open social media. That was the idea. But then there's been, and to keep repeating it over and over again so that, yes, it's blatantly white supremacist, but that you get desensitized. It's not as shocking every time. That was the goal here, to keep repeating the white supremacy until you become less shocked about it, less offended and desensitized. Next up, you're going to use the other tactic, the one that Karl Rove used. You're going to get all these people on the internet and you're going to flood the zone. You're going to flood the zone with a nonstop barrage, a nonstop fire hose of your ideologies, of your white supremacist talking points, targeting specific people, targeting specific personalities. You're going to be flooding the zone with it. And even for the people who hear your blatant white supremacy, there's supposed to be something in there that they can agree with. What? Follow me. I want you all to understand the strategy. The strategy is that they're going to have a menu, if you will, of white supremacist talking points. And that there will be, even though there are things in there that are racist and specifically against you, there is going to be something mixed in there that you can agree with. That's been the strategy. When you see these white supremacist hate tubers on YouTube and they're attacking movies and DEI and stuff, that's the strategy. They're expressing blatant, unadulterated, unfiltered white supremacy, but they also mix some other things in there with it. And that's going to get you to drop your guard. And when they're done, you will be thinking like a black person. But when it's time to physically respond, you will start responding like the white supremacists you've been listening to. Did you get that? You'll hear their white supremacy. It'll register to you. You'll take offense to it. But it's mixed with a couple of other things that you might agree with. And so when they are done, you start telling yourself, don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. And after all this time of being desensitized and being saturated with it, you are thinking like a black person. But you have been mentally recalibrated to when it's time to actually do something, you now respond like the white supremacists. Now there's a hell of a tricky bind to be in, isn't it? You think you're still thinking straight. You're thinking straight. Yeah, but when it's time to do something, you've started to do things differently. You started to do things that are in line with them. And that was the whole goal. So you see, none of them are offering black empowerment. All of them are offering white supremacy. But why don't we do something about the border, which still hasn't been done anything about, but, or what about LGBT teaching drag shows to your children? So let me get this straight. The only people who are going to stop the drag queens are the white supremacists. They try to put you in this Hobbesian choice. Look it up. But they try to put your back against the wall where you feel like you've got between two equally undesirable options and you have to try to choose the lesser of the two evils. That's where they try to maneuver you. And after that, they have effectively repackaged white supremacy now. Now you just see it as, well, you know, people say a lot of controversial things. You notice how they tried to slide that language in. Remember how they tried to slide that in from the beginning, y'all? Remember that? Remember that right after he got himself killed, they tried to slide that language in there. Remember? And I was one of the first people who had to jump up and tell you all, I see what they're doing and I'm going at it hammer and tong. I'm shutting it down. You had Megyn Kelly sitting up there. They tried to, well, Charlie, you know, he said controversial things, but see, that was where they caught themselves. They caught themselves because, you see, remember, first they said the left-wing media and the so-called left-wing liberal media saying controversial. Megyn and them were saying that, but then remember they changed it to, and it wasn't even controversial. It was mainstream. He wasn't even controversial. The stuff he was saying was just mainstream. So all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you're blindsided and told that blatant, dripping white supremacist filth is now suddenly, because he got himself shot, now that's suddenly mainstream. It wasn't mainstream the day before. It wasn't mainstream the day before. It was white supremacy. So I want you to understand that this is a recalibration that's supposed to be taking place to shock you. They think that you want to talk about a nationwide psyop? Why, this was supposed to be a nationwide psyop to shock you. You see, black folk have been seeing black folk get gunned down and killed on video by white supremacists and police all over the place now for decades. And then they show you it happens to a white man one time. It doesn't happen to him 10 times. It happens to him once. Just once. And then they tell you, oh, this is special. This is different. This is supposed to be a shock to the system here. And now they tell you, oh, we got to stop everything we're doing. And all of you have to think and respond differently. The repackaging of white supremacy. Well, the problem is that it would be different. The idea was they thought they were going to have a blitzkrieg. They thought that they were going to have shock and awe. They thought what was in their minds, they told themselves that this was going to be the last charge of the Light Brigade and that they were going to just blitz everybody and they were going to beat everyone into submission like the brown shirts in Nazi Germany, and that they were going to beat everyone into submission and you were all going to have to toe the line, and that whatever they told you how you're going to characterize it, that was what it was going to be. And that they will have used this moment to shock the society. You would have had a psyop that shocks the entire nation. And now in a day, they're going to recalibrate and reprogram everybody. Well, it didn't go quite the way they thought. It didn't go quite the way they hoped. You see, they were hoping that everyone was going to just get quiet that seeing this guy get gunned down was somehow going to make him a sacred cow. They were hoping in their little, minute, pebble-brained white supremacist skulls that watching him get gunned down was going to make everybody afraid to say anything. Well, they had another thought coming there now, didn't they? Oh, that didn't work out very well at all. See, what they were thinking was that they were going to have at least a few weeks of silence. That they were going to try to make him into something special, and we're going to have a few weeks of silence. And during that period of silence, while everybody in their opposition has been cowed into submission and quiet, that they would usher to the society what the new national narrative is. They figured that after this event that everybody else would be quiet for at least a few weeks and they would be the only ones talking, and that they would get to define the terms of the discussion within that time frame, and that when everybody else finally did get brave enough to start speaking, well, now they've, as they say, moved the Overton window. Now they have started normalizing white supremacist extremism. They figure that if we have a few weeks to just, we're the only ones talking. In those few weeks, we will normalize white supremacist extremism. We'll normalize it. We'll get the extremist talk. That will now be the mainstream. And what they found out was that they moved too quick. They moved too quick. They moved too stupid. And nobody got quiet. People started not just calling him, but calling him out and calling it what it was. What they found out was not only that, but that people were looking and seeing that they could go viral by doing it. Oh, folks started looking up and realizing they can go viral. They looked up one day and realized that, you know what? We can get a whole lot more attention calling him out than sitting up here playing nice. We're not politicians. And that's when a bunch of other folks said, you know what, hell, why don't we go ahead and just let it rip? And that's what happened. They started using a whole lot more fiery language than calling him controversial. His woman got on TV and she was crying and whatnot. They were trying everything they could to bully everybody into submission. And, oh, you're going to be empathizing? Man, ain't nothing working. They're treating Charlie the way Charlie treated everybody else when he was alive. Oh, man. Somebody just ripped the tape off the repackaging of the white supremacy. To the white supremacist dogs out there listening, you're squealing, you're hollering, you're upset, you're loud, you're crazy, you're stupid. Some of them are in here, you're salty about it. Yeah, you're salty because it didn't work. You got boots up your butts like you always have the whole time. It's not working. It was never going to work. You didn't get 4 weeks of you being the only narrative. Hell, you didn't get 4 days. You didn't make it any length of time. You were DOA in the starting gate. You didn't make it anywhere. It was already dead and gone before you could even start walking. And you really have yourselves to blame. What? Oh, but it's true. You really are the blame for this. If you don't like the way it happened, if you don't like the way it went down, well, in reality, you really are to blame for this disgrace and embarrassment and your humiliation. You're really the one who did it. Yeah. If you don't like the way the last 2 weeks have gone here, it's a week and a half, it's really your fault. You see, I was the guy who reminded everybody that, isn't it interesting that out of nowhere, all of a sudden, all these white supremacists on YouTube and everywhere else are trying to rehabilitate Nick Fuentes, an outright open American Nazi. They're trying to rehabilitate and replatform Nick Fuentes. Here came Tucker Carlson. Here came Candace Owens. Here came other people. All of a sudden, they want to talk to an American Nazi? Well, we should be discussing things with people. What do you have to discuss with an American Nazi? What exactly is it you're trying to discuss with him? See, there's where they started trying to fool folks. Well, Charlie Kirk, he wanted to have discussions. Okay, discussions about what? Discussions about the virtues and benefits of white supremacy? We don't need to have a discussion about that. So you see, when they started that move by desperately attempting to replatform Nick Fuentes, you all remember I sounded the alarm right then to say, hey, this is significant. It was very, very important to do that, and it's not lost on me that this was all happening at the same time. Once again, we're going to take white supremacist extremism and we are going to repackage that as controversial, not racist and white supremacist, but controversial. There is no controversy about white supremacy. It's not a controversy. That's like saying that 2 + 2 = 4 is controversial. It's not controversial, it's math. And what they have attempted to do in the meantime there, when you started dragging Nick Fuentes out, he was supposed to be the really extremist crash dummy that they were going to use. But it went bad for him. It went bad for him. You see, Nick Fuentes came back, and these people came to talk to him, and they figured that since they were had more notoriety than him, that what they were going to do was they were going to bring him back into the fold, and then they would use him as their agent. They never imagined that after all these years in the wilderness, Nick Fuentes would return, and he would be angry and bitter and on a kamikaze mission, not just against black folk, but against the whites who would not, in the political establishment, who didn't stand with him. They never imagined that when he came back, he would be filled with rage and his hostility would actually be focused on the Republican establishment, the right-wing establishment. He would come back and see them as his enemies. And you all remember, I told you during that program, I told you that Nick has made a calculus that he can make a couple of dollars agreeing with Candace Owens, or he can make a jackpot by going to war against her. If he agreed with her, it'll get passed around to a few 100,000 folks. But if he goes to war against her, if he goes to war against Tucker Carlson, oh, that'll get millions of views. And he'll be able to set up his own little silo of power on his own now. That he is the outsider. Since you all put him on the outside and you can't now claim that you didn't, he's going to sit up here and tell you all, yeah, I'm the true outsider. And he ended up blitzing them. He ended up waging a blitz against them. Yeah, they tried to replatform him and he turned it against them. And it worked. He turned against them. He went to war against the folks who were trying to cozy up to him. He went against polite discussion and it worked. But please remember, a bunch of these white supremacists and whatnot were happy about that, remember? Oh, they've been sharing it all over the place. And Ian Carroll and the rest, we did the program about that. Oh boy, remember they were gleeful about that. Yay, he's coming to his own. Nick Fuentes has broken containment. Remember? Well, you see, white supremacists have never been smart. They've never been brilliant. And what they did, they thought they were just setting up one person. Oh, no, 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 no. You've created a whole new genre. Or at least you've made a whole new tactic permissible. As I told you all, there's money to be made agreeing with these people, but there's a lot more power to be had by disagreeing with them. And that's what Nick proved. And then when Charlie Kirk died, these same idiot white supremacists figured that this time everybody would play along to get along because there'd be power to be had by agreeing with them. But then they found out very quickly, oh, no. There's a few pennies to be had agreeing with you. There's a boatload of power to be had by going at you. There's a whole lot more money and power to be gained by attacking you head on than there is by avoiding you. And you see, you're the stupid idiots in the white supremacist land who laid the groundwork by trying to replatform Nick Fuentes. You're the ones who proved that proof of concept. You're the ones who had him go out and prove this can work. This is viable. You're the ones who did that. You're the ones who did that. So your chickens have come home to roost. Your chickens have come home to roost. You see, if you had not tried to do something that stupid, you wouldn't have had that issue. But once you made it where Nick could get away with it, well, now it's open season. You see, that desensitizing thing is a two-way street.
And deal with it.
That desensitization, that's a two-way street. You're not the only ones who have those tools. You're not the only ones. I'd like to explain to the moronic MAGA right out there another thing. You overplayed your hand. You've already become stupid. Of course, you people were already morons to begin with, but now you're just taking it to whole new levels of dumb. That's the best you can do. You see, you're never, let me explain something to you people. You're never supposed to sit up here and claim to be the incumbent. You have momentum when you're the challenger. You have momentum when you're the underdog. People are you have potential to get bigger. You see, when you're the guy on the top, you've already reached your peak. There's nothing more for us to watch for. You've already reached your peak. But you see, when you're the challenger, when you're the underdog, you're the only one that folk can watch because you're the only one who has room to grow. You're the only one that has room to grow. In the chat room, I got some folks in here who need to call up. Manny Peregrine. Let's go ahead and get these folks up here on Zoom. I'm so glad they've come in. So glad they've come in here. So what we're going to do is go ahead and get them up on Zoom now. So my mods, those folk y'all been calling there, let me go ahead and throw the Zoom link up in the chat room here, and all of them will be able to go ahead and give us a call up because they are not going to embarrass old Charlie Kirk even worse by failing to be able to even defend him. Certainly, they're not going to make his situation even worse than it already is, if such a thing can be imagined. Certainly, they're not going to do that by failing to be able to even articulate a defense for him. Certainly, they wouldn't. Just remember, when you can't defend your mans, you're the one who's already defeated him, not me. If you can't even defend him, which should be a very simple thing to do, should be very easy to do, and yet they can't do it. You see, the problem with the MAGA morons, the problem with the alt-right, the problem with the white supremacists is that they've forgotten that, when you're the challenger, that's where the growth is. When you're the challenger, that's where the potential is. That's where you want to be. You want to be there. When you become the establishment, you're now the majority. You can't claim, here's the problem, people, listen carefully here. This is why Nick Fuentes gets it and these other folk don't. You can't claim to be an outsider if you are the establishment. Damn! To Donald the Dunce Trump. Dude, you blew it. You blew it. When you start talking stupid, and all he can do is talk stupid, and claiming that you're on top and you're the majority, and that's it. You've already peaked. You've already zeroed out. You're the establishment now. You can't point to anybody else. You're the establishment now. You can't claim to be an outsider and simultaneously be the establishment and then tell everybody join us over here on the outside. You're not outsiders anymore. You're the problem. When you're an outsider, you can always point to what the issues are. When you become the establishment, you are the issue. You want to be in power. You want to be in control. You can't blame anybody else for anything that's wrong. It all lays at your feet. If you had a lick of sense, you would not do that. You would claim the whole time, it doesn't matter what the numbers are, you would always claim that you're always down, you're always under, you're always striving, you're always trying. These other guys are the establishment. I don't give a damn if you got them outnumbered 99-1. You can always say, these guys over there, we're the underdogs, we're down, they're the establishment. We're the outsiders. See, that's what you would do if you had a lick of intelligence, which they don't. Soon as you start we're the majority stuff, just understand the second you say that, you're the incumbent, you're the establishment. And once you become the establishment, everybody is looking to see you get knocked off. Nobody cheers for the establishment. Nobody cheers for the establishment. Which is why the stupidest thing you can do is start claiming that you're the establishment. You need to always be the outsider, always be the revolutionary, always be the insurgent. That's where you have the most momentum. But these dunces were not smart enough to accept that. They began behaving like they're the establishment. And once you start doing that, now people start associating everything about you as being the problem. So if the establishment is for trans and things are going well, I guess you'll be all right. But if things are not going well, if you're for trans, everybody sees that as a negative. Just by definition, if it's associated with you, it's a negative now. If it's associated with you, it's a negative. I want you all to understand where they messed up and where they screwed up so badly there. That's where they did that. That's where they did that at. They messed up there. This is that these people here, when they start trying to hammer other folk about free speech and First Amendment, you get yourself in trouble all over again. You start reminding people. Remember, Trump did this during his first term. He reminded everybody why they didn't like him. He started reminding them why they didn't like him. I'd like to go ahead and make another point here as well. Please understand, the movement is dead. That MAGA social movement, well, that's dead now. It's over. Notice none of their other flunkies or lackeys, none of them can dispute or defend any of it. The only place you see them is on Twitter and comment sections. Hey, dummies, Twitter is not a real place. You're not going to be able to pick up the baton and get this thing moving again on Twitter. That's not the way it happens. It's not the way it happens. You're going to have to get out there in the street and make it occur. You're going to have to make that happen. And do you hear how silent his supporters are? Why, they should be everywhere spreading the gospel of Charlie Kirk. And yet they're the quietest, most scared, cowardly people in the room, demanding that nobody repeat his words. His own followers have deserted him. They don't even know where to begin. So you see, you're not going to be able to finish the repackaging because you're too cowardly to even grab the box and the tape to tape up the box, so there won't be a repackaging. You have to go out there with the same smelly, reeky, filthy box that you've been carrying around all this time. I got somebody over here on Zoom here real quick. Let's see. We got somebody over here on Zoom. Okay, we got somebody named Drew here on Zoom. Now, Drew, just to make sure we do not have any trolling issues, everyone who calls up on Zoom needs to make sure they have their camera and microphone turned on. You will not be visible to YouTube. YouTube is not going to see you, just the host. But make sure you have everything on for me. All right, Drew, what's on your mind?
Well, I was just on. I'm actually Carmelo Anthony's father, the one that was in the situation in Frisco, and I wanted to thank you.
Okay, so I've been waiting on your email.
I know. I emailed you. That's why I was told to get with you as soon as possible. So I emailed you. You might want to look through and just put, Carmelo's dad in the subject line and it'll come up.
Okay, well, I'm hoping, I don't know what email address you used. Hopefully it was theblackauthority@yahoo.com. But if you use that email address, I don't know, maybe you got spam or something, but please send me another one.
Yes, sir, I will do.
I'll definitely be looking for that.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for getting in touch with us.
Yes, sir.
I'll be glad to have a few words about that. Be glad to have a few words about that. You're not going to be able to get the train back on the track when your followers and your kinsmen are afraid to touch you. You see, when we're out here giving you the work and you are not making sure you're in every zone to speak up on those things, you're already finished. You're already finished. That's the kind of thing that's going to be in trouble for you. See, your people are supposed to be able to do better than that. Your people are supposed to be able to do better than that. Your people are supposed to have your back. Your people are supposed to be sitting up here calling people and making sure they dissect that and change that. That's what they're supposed to be doing, but they're not able to. They're not able to. That's how you know you're already finished. You're already finished. You're already done. Your man needs y'all to stand up and speak up for him right now, and none of you can do it. None of you will. Don't you realize that means the movement is already done? When even his so-called followers are terrified to say anything for him, don't you know that means you're already done? That's a hell of a spot to be in. You see, if he's not able to speak anymore, you think you're going to change things on Fox News? You think that's where it's going to happen? You think you all are going to get Greg Gutfeld to move the damn needle? Do you think that's what was missing? You think that's where things went wrong? You think if only you could just go ahead and have a few more clips on Fox News that things would change? That's not the way that works. Twitter is a place where you speak to the choir. if you are not crossing lines into other areas, it doesn't work. Let me go ahead and jump back over here on Zoom, the Superpower Media. Let me get back over here on Zoom, the Superpower Media here. All right, Superpower Media, what's on your mind?
What's up, Jason? Yeah, your broadcast is correct tonight about the rebranding of white supremacy. I want to take y'all back down memory lane when a lot of your listeners weren't even born then when Rush Limbaugh was on AM station back in early 90s. I say probably 91, 92. And you wouldn't believe the stuff that he would say on the radio, man. And the listeners would call in and say the most vile, racist. Charlie Kirk was an angel compared to what they were saying back then in the early 90s on the radio before the internet. So they've been on a war footing for a long time. White supremacy has been doing this for a long time. They've been knocking down these token heads and propping them up. And what they don't realize is that we ready for them. So it's just a new generation that they pumping out. And Charlie Kirk was he was somebody that, like you said, they was using to push this narrative ever since they killed Malcolm, ever since they killed Martin Luther King. We've been on this war footing for a long time. And what they want to happen is that we fall asleep and we don't catch what's going on. But yeah, we see the play that they playing, and they've been repackaging these white supremacists for decades, Jason.
Yeah, and like I say, that was where they started cutting their teeth at in a certain regard. But you had Howard Stern, and Don Imus and others there. Yep. And that was the real thing to be taken a look at. So when the internet happened and they're no longer really subject to the FCC, they figured they'd just go ahead and do what they want to do. They figured in this because they need somebody who, in Limbaugh's case, you got to abide by rules and regulations. They need somebody who can just give the straight skinhead white supremacist Nazi line. That's the part that's missing. You are not going to establish proper white supremacy with half measures. That's the issue.
Yeah.
You can't halfway get there. You can't solve. You're going to have to eventually come out and say what it's got to be. You can't get there if you refuse to say where the destination really is. And there was the problem. So first we'll see if we can soften y'all up. And then eventually we're going to have to tell you all that the goal is white supremacy. And that you all are just wrong. And don't you understand? The only problem is that you don't understand. It's not racist the way you be thinking it is. It's not racist like that. And that's when they bring in the Candace Owenses and the rest of the folk from PragerU and whatnot. And that's when they brought them in. And as we all know, as I point out, and it's not because they even believe it, it's because they understand buying them off is easy. They found that a lot of the immigrant class was easily bought off and that, okay, those are good window dressing to say, see, we're not racist. I got these coons over here behind me. That one didn't work out very well either. They've been waiting for us to find another Malcolm or another Martin. That's what they've been waiting on. They figured as long as they didn't see that, well, there's nothing coordinated, or certainly there's no national dialogue. And then they found out they're wrong. Right. So it didn't work. Candace, the only thing that Candace or the rest of those folk they got, Officer Tatum, he's not talking to black people. That's why Nick Fuentes dissed all of them. Nick Fuentes dissed all of them and say, you all are supposed to be talking to black people. That's why Nick called them grifters. And say, well, you're supposed to be over there with the niggas. You're supposed to be over there, the stuff that Charlie Kirk was halfway doing sometimes. You were supposed to be in the middle of black society, converting black people from within. That was their job. That's what they were hired to do. That was their mission. You were supposed to be among us, converting us. You were supposed to be hosting a program with a majority black audience. And instead, you're just talking to the same people Ben Shapiro talking to. You're just talking to the white supremacist audience that's already over there. You don't have any black audience. None. And that's where you get into trouble. You got into trouble right there that, it's not moving. So it was dead on arrival to begin with. The only smart thing they could have done, they're incapable of doing. They've been trying to lay the groundwork and prep it for the longest time. It isn't happening. It's not working. It's not moving. It won't move. And now all you're watching them do is their pitiful death throes as they're trying to wail and scream about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll let you have the last word.
In their biggest play, what they try to do is they say, well, oh, it's free speech. When we talk white, like when he said about the black woman on the pilot, man, like you said, man, nobody can get inside a cockpit and just take a plane and fly it. It takes hundreds of hours of flight time, and most pilots come from the Air Force. So that big lie that he was trying to push, that was crazy. I mean, if anybody believe that, I want to sell them some land on the moon real quick, because
this is where we are today. I want you all to understand this very, very clearly. We are in an era, in the post-truth era, with the white supremacists, in which they were always liars. But now they are just going into Joseph Goebbels territory. They are saying, we're going to tell everybody that up is down, down is up. We're going to keep repeating it. We're going to go talk. And that's why I point out to you all, we're going to go talk to an 18-year-old college student who was 7 years old when Trayvon Martin was killed, and then lie through your teeth about the events as they occurred, and then claim, okay, upload this thing to YouTube or TikTok and hope it gets a couple 100,000 views. And that's the strategy they've been using. Just lie. Lie about everything. Just lie.
Everything.
Just make it up. Lie. It doesn't matter. Hopefully you can make a lie that travels a lot faster than the truth does and makes a lot more headway and progress than the truth does. But the problem is the white supremacists have been losing. They've been losing now for so long. They've taken 6 straight decades of L's. It wasn't getting any better. Yeah. And so they just said, man, screw it. Lie. Just get out there and lie. Just make up things. Just lie through your teeth. Do that. That's where they are today. So having a, quote, conversation with them, that's not something that can really happen, because their strategy now is, we just want a megaphone in front of us and we'll just lie. You take a look at what Trump does. I mean, you know he's lying because his lips are moving.
Yeah.
And that's the strategy now, is just lie about everything. Just literally lie about everything. Even like Ashley Babbitt. You're sitting up here showing her smashing in windows, trying to get to the chambers of Congress in the Capitol building, and Tucker Carlson and Patrick Bet-David's flunky talking about she was walking down the hall of the Capitol building. Down the hall. She's literally smashing windows open. You got her on video talking about she got shot just walking down the hall. No, black folk get shot just walking down the hall. Ashley Babbitt was smashing in windows and trying to assault Congress. Now, the problem is none of these other folk are drug them in and make them sit in front of the video and say, okay, here's Ashley Babbitt smashing in the window. Where's the walking part? And why do you keep lying about that? Yeah. These other folks don't do that.
She was thugging it out, Jason. That's what she was doing. She was thugged out, and that's the only way you can explain that one. And so, hard head to make a soft ass. Be one, Jason.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. We appreciate that. Yeah, look, the strategy, folks, is just lie. Just lie. Hope that the person that you're talking to is too young to remember what happened or doesn't know what occurred, and just lie. Charlie Kirk got his ass handed to him in several times of debates, usually against actual university students or professors. Yeah, because they knew the events. When that occurred, it didn't go badly. It went disastrously. And that is why his followers are online today, continuing the strategy. The strategy is not out of context. The strategy is, okay, we all know the game plan. 1, 2, 3, lie. And that's the strategy. You see, the truth doesn't work. The truth is too damning. The truth keeps condemning them. So they can't use that. They can't use that. Now you see them in open rebellion against the truth because that doesn't work. We're getting our butts kicked in. Just start lying. Well, that's not very honorable. Damn honor. We're trying to win. And you are knee deep off in the middle of it right now. In the chat room, once again, I want you all to just understand there have been some milquetoast supporters. They're very, very angry. They're very, very upset. They think that posting in a chat room or bamming away on Twitter is going to fix it. And that's not the way that works. That's not the way that works. You've already lost if you're stuck in here. You already lost it. It's already done. You are not the mission is over. It's done. You're not going to resurrect this thing. You're not going to be able to turning point to reach this end point because the followers are useless. People, Turning Point has reached its end point because its followers are useless. The followers are incapable of being able to articulate anything. They're incapable of carrying the message. They're incapable of entering into any arena and spreading the message further. They can't do it. Getting on Twitter and trolling isn't carrying the message. You're going backwards. You're not just stuck still. You're actually losing ground. You're backsliding. You're going backwards now. You're going backwards. In the chat room, Mr. Renato Ruiz, you are going to give us a call here in 2 minutes. If you are not on Zoom, you'll go ahead and get removed. So thank you very much for you're trying in vain. This is a very, very weak ability, a very, very weak effort here to try to propagandize. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. But what it does do is reinforce and highlight that, yeah, y'all are done. The movement's over. If it was moving anywhere to begin with, it's already finished. It's already finished. People, if all you can do is get on Twitter and say, you all are quoting him out of context, that's not redeeming him, stupid. Hey, dummy, that's not redeeming him. That's not fixing it. He's in a smoldering pile of ashes and you ain't doing nothing to help. Trolling is not an argument. Please understand, we already showed you all how to breathe life back into a movement. Trolling is not an argument. Trolling is not an argument and lying is not a solution. You all are the ones who have failed him. Kirk's whole movement has fallen apart and no amount of money can help you when all of your followers are dunderheads, cowards, morons, and clowns. This is the army he put together? So this is the army that he gathered with all those hundreds of millions of dollars, and this was all he could do. This is the best he could do. They can't even make an argument of any kind to inspire anyone else to want to go ahead and go along with that. You see, this is the moment that he needs them more than ever. This is the moment that you need that. You don't need to have some inarticulate jackasses sitting up here. Out of context, out of context. By the way, one more thing. If your leader and spokesperson were truly so inept, so inarticulate, so absolutely bad at communication, that it is so easy to take his words out of context, you got a pretty pathetic mouthpiece and leader, don't you? Damn! If it is that easy, even if your lie were true, which is a pathetic thing, but I mean, just pathetic looks so good on y'all. But even if it were true, By the way, if he's that easy to take out of context, he's a pretty pathetic communicator, isn't he? I mean, if you're that bad at it. No wonder it crashed and burned so quickly and easily. No wonder it did. I guess stupid in, stupid out. The team really does reflect leadership, doesn't it? What? I guess the team really does reflect its leadership. Amazing. We're going to go ahead and jump over here on Zoom. Probably going to take one more here before I hit the commercial, non-commercial break and then see about opening up the lines here for everybody. But yeah, folks, if this is the best you can do, your leader is this much of an inarticulate baboon that all you all can say is that he's constantly playing his words for minutes on end is out of context. That's the only defense you have? Well, it sounds like he was a pretty piss poor, pathetic communicator then. No wonder the team is defeated. No wonder they're like, we need to shut anybody else up. Well, yeah, your boss is bad. All right, over here on Zoom, Ray, unmute yourself. Unmute yourself, sir.
Yo, hey, what's up, brother Jason? How you doing, bro?
All right, Ray, what's on your mind?
I have a legal question that I've been wanting to ask you. It's like off topic, whatever, but it's dealing with white supremacy to a degree because I've been looking for a lawyer for the longest now, and I asked around in a bunch of spaces, and I hardly can get any help with this because something very diabolical happened to me back in.
Well, brother, here's the thing about it. We're talking about something a little bit different here tonight, but you might want to send me an email and see if I can take a look at that for you. But I want to stay on topic tonight.
Is your email in the description, sir?
No, sir. It's just theblacauthority@yahoo.com. You can send me an email there.
Okay, theblacauthority@yahoo.com. Thank you, brother.
Thank you for getting this call. Yeah, folks, if your leader is constantly out of context, if that's the only way, every time somebody quotes him, every time somebody plays his audio, you keep saying, that's out of context, that's out of context. Do you realize that you're damning him every step of the way? These are his so-called helpers piling dirt on him. They're so stupid and so inept that they don't realize, man, y'all are making it worse. You're piling more dirt on him. Every time somebody plays him, you keep saying, don't listen to that. Don't listen to that. No, don't listen to that. You're supposed to be saying, listen to every word. You're supposed to be saying, listen to everything he says. He's always dropping jewels and gems. Instead, y'all are saying, don't listen to that. Hey, that's out of context. Out of context? You see, here's the problem. You white supremacists got yourselves tied in the knots here. You're supposed to be confusing everybody else. Instead, you authors of confusion are now confusing yourselves. When you say that everything he says is out of context, then by definition, even your own people don't know what to believe. You can't get everybody on the same page when you're constantly lying about what the message really was. We keep playing what the message really was and what you really believed, and you keep coming up behind us saying, no, that's not what it really means. Yeah, that's exactly what it really means. But how are you going to indoctrinate everybody into white supremacy if you keep telling them it's not about white supremacy? You're fighting against yourselves now. You're arguing against yourselves now. Because you weren't ready for this moment. You weren't ready for the moment when you had to actually argue for these things on their merits. You don't have some damn mascot that you can put in a 30-second TikTok video that you're lying about. Now that you have to actually come out and defend him like a lawyer in court, you can't do it. You're telling everybody, no, that's not what he really said. You're the ones resetting your own clock. Because any new followers are not going to be listening. Let me explain something to you here, folks. I've been in this game for a minute. Let me go ahead and give you all some media business. I've been in this game for a minute. I've been in this game now 2 decades. Almost 2 decades of streaming alone. I've been in this now going on 2 decades of it. And understand something. Nobody, very few people are going to go back and listen to my entire 16-year archive, man. Nobody's going to go back. Very, very few people are going to go back and go watch the last 2 decades of content and everything I put out. Nobody's going to go through my Twitter feed and go down the whole damn thing all the way to the beginning. No one's going to do that. Very few people. Let me not say no one, because there will be some of y'all are like truck drivers and things, and I'm going to have you all entertained for years and years now. What? But for the new people, most of the new people, they're not going to do that. They're not. Especially when you're dealing with stuff that's timely, it's in the news, so it stays up to date. They're not going to be going back and listening to stuff from the Obama administration. They're going to listen to this week's program. They might listen to a couple of programs before now. If YouTube suggests something else to them and they don't look and see the title of it, they might go ahead and click on those. But other than that, they're not going to go back and review the last 16 years, man, the last 2 decades. They're not going to do that. They're going to start from where they are and try to get caught up as quickly as they can. And what they see right now and what you tell them it is right now, that's what they're going to take. So you see, all the new people here that Charlie Kirk's followers are misleading and confusing and lying to, they're not gonna, you're making the assumption that all these people are gonna go back through his archive of white supremacist nonsense and go get up to speed and find out what the message really is. No, they're not. They're gonna listen to you. They're going to listen to you and all of you dozens of liars in comment sections on Twitter. They're going to listen to you and act like, oh, he doesn't really mean it like that. Oh, okay, so the message ain't white supremacy. That's what they're going to do. You're confusing everyone, including your own people. Well, you're not confusing us over here, but the folks you're looking to talk to, you're confusing your people and you're confusing the new people who might listen to you. Because they're not going to go back and listen to 2 decades of content. They're not going to go listen to Charlie for a decade. They're not going to do that. They're going to pick up right where they are right now. And right now, you are confusing the hell out of them. You're going to tell him that he was some kind of integrationist, and then they're going to be like, yeah, it's about integration. You're going to be like, no. You're going to be trying to take all of them off to the side and try to re-indoctrinate them, but you don't even have a spokesperson to do it anymore. By the way, you can't re-indoctrinate them because you don't have a spokesperson to do it anymore. Fox News only talks to the people who are ages 65 to dead. So your millennials and Gen Z ain't listening to them. Your senior citizens and old timers, that's where they tune in to listen to the fossils who used to be young people back in the 90s. But there's nobody on YouTube doing that. So you've already lost it. The new people you bring in, you're just going to completely confuse them about what the mission actually is and what the goal actually is. So under these circumstances, you cannot win because you are your own worst enemy. You desperately need to repackage white supremacy, but now the chief of the warehouse is gone, so there's nobody to keep the message going, and the rest of his operatives and followers are completely inept, and any of the other people you could point to take over from him, well, they already had beef, and no one's going to consolidate behind them. Nobody is going to consolidate behind Ben Shapiro. They're not going to consolidate behind Candace Owens. They're not going to consolidate behind Officer Tatum. They're not going to consolidate behind Michael Knowles or anybody over there at Daily Wire. They're not going to consolidate behind Matt Walsh. They're not going to consolidate behind any of them. They're not going to consolidate behind Tucker Carlson. They are the supporting cast. They are not leading actors. And the moronic, asinine morass of individuals on the internet constantly claiming he's out of context, boy, you're killing him. Y'all are the ones killing the movement because you keep saying he's out of context. This is an idiot army that defeats itself. However, you might disagree. You just might. Therefore, the link to the Zoom is pinned at the top of the chat room. You can call us up on Zoom there. The link to the Zoom is pinned at the top of the chat room. You are more than welcome to go ahead and give us a call. You can call us up. If you've been instructed by my mods, assuming you have been banned already, you definitely have a few more minutes to go ahead and be on there and be up to date with it. It's up to you. In the meantime, I'd like to thank everyone, and I do mean everybody who's contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo. Shout out to my man, Mr. Rich Bird. Thank you very much for your support, sir. We appreciate that. To my man, Keenan. Thank you very much for your support here as well. We got Fear to None, Kimberly Lewis, Immigrant B1, Claude Neely, Francis Amos, and my boy, Mr. Willie Addison. Thank you very much for your support here as well. We're going to take a very brief non-commercial break here. When we come back, we'll take your calls and more. This is the Black Channel.
The modern woman brought us the modern man. We can thank Kevin Samuels that didn't thank TBA for the high-value man. TBA doubled down and manifested the producer. Honey Beauty birthed the king and for the sensual love. Modern man, high-value man, alpha male, and demigod. With Honey Beauty, you can be the man you want to be. Stop over to honeybeauty.com. That's HUNEEBEA-UTY.com.
Be the teacher, knowledge on the block. Got the kids learning, minds open like a lock. Books and skills from the east to the west. Bringing education, yeah, we're simply the best. Classes on fire, brains burning with desire. Innovation driving like a tire through the mire. Math, science, history, we got the whole range. Kids hitting new heights, teachers making a change. Used to be the teacher, stacking up the grades. Future bright shining, no need for no shades. Got the youth thriving, moving up the ladder. Smart and sharp, brains growing fatter. Lessons so lit, yeah, they stay in a blaze. Every mind sharp like a sword in the haze. Mr. B in the house breaking knowledge chains. Education kingpin, we repping the games. Used to be the teacher.
Order yours today to experience all the benefits of Ash Kickin' Body Butter. With skin so smooth and soft, you'll thank us for it. Shop Ash Kickin' online. That's ASHKICKIN.com.
Hi, this is Brenda Starr, creator of Poetry with a Purpose and author of the book Pressed But Not Crushed. Pressed But Not Crushed is an anthology of political poems that address current and historical issues in American descendants of slave population and African American population. The book describes slaveries and its residuals, Jim Crow segregation, social depredation, and other relevant issues to American descendants of slaves and African Americans, including the current political climate that does not address our issues.
This is the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Very glad to be with you all here this evening. I want to put one more addendum on this movement to crack down on the First Amendment rights of people by Greg Abbott and other white supremacist right-wingers. Understand something here, folks. You become the bad guys when you try that. Let me explain to you why. When you tell people what they can't do, that becomes the thing they want to go do. When you tell people what they can't say and they have not agreed to it, listen now. When you tell people that what they can't say or can't do and they have not agreed to it, then you now make that counterculture, you make that cool, you make that popular, it's the forbidden fruit. It becomes the new exotic thing to do. when you tell people not to do something and they don't choose to not do it. You see, they'll not do it, but it has to be because they agree to not doing it. When you make it by your dictate, well, now you make that what they want to do. And that's why this doesn't work. So when you tell people that it's illegal to speak against Charlie Kirk, well, all you doing is making speaking against Charlie Kirk go #1 on the Billboard charts with a bullet. And that's all you're doing. That now becomes the #1 trending thing to do. People, if you want to get attention, there's no attention to be had by speaking well of Charlie Kirk. You want to get attention, you want to be anti-establishment, you want to be counterculture, you want to be against the grain. Oh, they've told you exactly what you need to do to be against the grain. You want to be a revolutionary? They've told you exactly what you need to do. You want to be a new age outlaw? Now you know exactly how to do that. They didn't think this through, folks. They didn't. Let me go ahead and jump over here on Zoom. We got Antoine here on Zoom. Antoine, what's on your mind?
Hey, how you doing, Jason? Great broadcast. Yeah, I agree with everything you said today. You know, you was talking about who might be the great leaders. I think they're trying to all push it on that young guy, Nick, whatever, which I don't think is going to be for him because he's too blatant. What do you think about that? Nick Fuentes, I can't pronounce his last name.
Okay,
Sorry.
well, first of all, Nick Fuentes is exactly what they don't want because he keeps saying the quiet part out loud. Also, Nick Fuentes obviously has some emotional, if not mental instability. I mean, if he's not bipolar, he'll do till the bipolar guy gets here. So you can't really trust anything to him. He's very entertaining to watch, but then again, there's a bunch of crazy people on the subway who are entertaining to watch. That doesn't mean you put them in charge of anything. Also, Nick is just like Charlie in a lot of ways. He's very easily debunked, which is why he makes sure not to talk to. He talks to airheads and bimbos from Instagram on Fresh and Fit. Put him in the room with anybody who's halfway knowledgeable about anything, and it'll basically be a disaster. And it always is. So the only thing he can really do is just wave his swastika. But he doesn't actually have an argument. Now, complicate this even more with the fact that Charlie Kirk's killer was moving around in Groyper circles. Now, that right there is the real issue. Right. I need you all to understand something. See, we here as black folk, we've been through this a number of times. White society hasn't. We've been through this with the SCLC. We've been through this with Dr. King. We were through this with the Nation of Islam and Malcolm X. We went through this with the Panthers. We've been through this with the HBCUs. These internecine power struggles when the leader is killed and somebody got to take over. We've been through that before. And what was the first thing you noticed? If the leader gets killed, that creates a scramble for the ball. There's always a bunch of the underlings and second in commands. Maybe they couldn't get folk behind them before, but you got to choose somebody now because this fellow over here did. And nobody wants to move out of the way and coronate somebody else. That's the problem. Nobody wants to move out of the way and let somebody else. Well, certainly you all should surely elect me. And that's not the way that works. So you see, if Nick tries to go to sit on the throne, a bunch of other people are going to say, oh, you're a white, the very folk who are white supremacists talking with Charlie Kirk are going to say, oh, you're a white supremacist, Nick. You can't be here. Or they're going to bring out the killer was one of your people, Nick. I mean, it's going to be down and dirty and ugly, period. So that's how they'll disqualify him. And that's what they'll do with everybody else. So it becomes that. So there's the reason why Nick can't get it. First of all, he was never eligible. And even in some meth-induced world where he would be, he's too easily attacked and taken down. Too easily.
I agree with all your points, but I do see him trying to pivot. Like, I notice he's toned down his little hat people rhetoric, I notice. But I agree with your point.
He's only doing that until they've solidified the charges and things against Tyler Robinson. Please understand something. Nick is in the hot seat. He was one of the first people who realized the more evidence is coming out, this guy was one of your people, Nick. He was one of yours. And Nick is desperately hoping that the Turning Point and Republicans and whatnot are not really holding a grudge about that. Because Nick, this wasn't some rabid left-winger. This is one of your people. This was one of your people, and you were perfectly fine to go at Charlie when he was alive. Now, all of a sudden, you spinning around because you're wondering, could there be a sideways indictment for you? And he's got plenty of folk who would like it. So he's going to mind his manners long enough for the charges against Tyler Robinson to get to the trial stage or whatever. And then he's already backsliding to begin with. So I haven't really seen him really backing off of it. He's going at Israel left, right, and center. But don't be confused or fooled by any seeming conciliatory talk from him. This is the same serpent he's always been. He's just worried that somebody somewhere is going to throw an indictment his way. And he's waiting for the heat to cool down before he goes back to what he was doing before. And mark my words, Nick Fuentes will eventually get back to saying what a son of a gun Charlie Kirk was. He'll eventually get there. He just can't do it right now.
I agree with you. He did with radio silence on the day of his death. But back to the coons, you said something very interesting about the coons, that they're useless because they're supposed to convert black people, which I completely agree. And also part of it is majority of the coons, even on the left-wing side, I've noticed that have been mostly immigrant. Now, yes, there are foundational Black American coons, but I've noticed the pattern that the foundational Black American coons kind of talk in a slave type way. And the ones that come from immigrant backgrounds try to talk like they're smarter than the white people they're trying to be cool with.
That's not the way I see it. I see the immigrant coon class, they talk like they're children. He's white daddy and we're their kids. All of them want white daddy to give them a hug and like they're a member of the family. So that's more the vibe I get off of that. And that's why for us it's very, very important to be very, very adamant about who's on code. Being on code now is more important than ever. It is more essential than ever. And we have got to be more hard line about it than ever, period. No matter where anybody comes from. Because right now the heat is on and it's showing who in the world is really built for this and who's weak about it.
I guess I was going to that point because I'm looking at Candace Owens, because when I watch her, it seems like she's trying to seem like she's smarter than a white, like she kind of low key mouthing off to them. Am I reading that wrong?
No. Listen to me, because people keep asking about Candace Owens and stuff. People keep mentioning that, and that's how I know y'all spend too much damn time online. That's one thing. If people keep mentioning Candace Owens, y'all spend too much time online. Candace Owens is an opportunist. I've never been more absolutely certain of it than I am now. Candace Owens will say whatever it is, wherever the money is, wherever the dollars are, that's where she goes, period. Well, Jason, can you prove that? Absolutely. Never mind the fact that you know she was bought and paid for by PragerU. They were throwing a check. Now everybody's admitting it. Now they're admitting that they were paying her. Turning Point, same thing. Oh, now they're actually admitting that they were. See, they weren't saying that before. Now they're admitting that they were. Oh, okay. Now she went to Daily Wire. Oh, here's a 7-figure check. Coonan pays for a few of you. Well, I'll be damned. But here's the thing. Did you notice that what she said started changing? By the time she gets to the Daily Wire, she's still talking trash. She was talking nothing but straight cash money trash about black folk from PragerU to Turning Point. She gets to Daily Wire, and next thing you know, she starts moving the needle a little bit. And then when she has her falling out with them, it is all Jews, all anti-Israel all the time. To the point that I had to remind you all, did anybody notice since Candace Owens left Daily Wire, she ain't said nothing about black folk no more.
That is interesting.
Did anybody notice that she done backed off all that anti-black talk? What?
That's a good point. I thought.
Okay, but wait. I'm not done. No. I'm filling in the blanks. Oh no, brother. No. That's thin. That's too thin. I can't be right on just one thing that people would say that's anecdotal. All right. So then she goes all against the Jews, all against the Jews all the time. It's anti-Israel all the time. Bring on Kanye West. Anybody who don't like Jewish folks, she's your gal. To the point that she built her career attacking black people, and then out of nowhere, when she no longer had the Daily Wire's check to depend on, when she had to actually get out the mud on her own, she's talking about something totally different. Now, isn't that interesting? Now, before she only talked about one subject, us. All of a sudden, she's talking about one subject now too. It's just not us anymore. Okay, then next thing you know, we're hammering on the Jews, ran that for a little bit. The election comes and goes. Okay, she's hammering about Trump, and then she starts going at him. Well, I'll be damned. Then she's back on the Jews again. Oh, hell. Then she's talking about Emmanuel Macron's wife all day, every day. You know the president of France is married to a man. Okay, now she has become the complete X-Files. She is all conspiracy theories all the time. It doesn't matter what you're talking about. She is all conspiracy theories all the time now. Everything's a conspiracy theory now. That's what her channel has become. Political conspiracy theories. Now, obviously it looks very popular. She's getting millions of views. It's working. But did anybody notice, wow, this really is an eclectic mix of subjects, isn't it? Black folk, political elections, president of France, Jews, Trump, Jews, Kanye, Jews. Okay, you seem to be stuck there a little bit there. And so the president of France. And now with Charlie Kirk, same thing. Now, isn't that interesting? So she's going where the money is. She's going where the money is. She's going where the views are. And that's it. That is it. Bring on Nick Fuentes. She's I can't even call her a grifter. She's just a whore at this point. And wherever she thinks there's eyeballs enough, that's where she's going. That's what she's talking about. That is who Candace Owens is. But more importantly, that's who she's always been. This isn't new. This is what she's always been. It's just now she's more brazen than ever because she has no choice but to be.
The only thing I like about Nick is that he slapped them coons when he went off on them. He said the quiet part out loud, like you said, you know. So whenever they come on in our spaces talking crap, we can just play that video because what he said is how they all feel. We've been saying that for the longest.
Well, I mean, the real thing about it is these folks are not dumb about that. You know, look, everybody tries to play stupid because they're waiting to see if we respond over here in the new black media. If they had a black audience, they wouldn't need Candace. You see, you have your white preachers out there. They can get the old niggas from the civil rights generation to come to their churches, but the new generation ain't like that. So to talk to us, you got to come over here. The problem is we're not bootlicking and ass kissing like the civil rights generation was. That's why it doesn't work. So you can't send a Nick Fuentes over here to sing to us the virtues of white supremacy. That's not going to get off the ground at all, period. Ain't going to work. So that's the problem right there. They need a black audience. They just don't have anyone who can get one. All those millions of dollars, and Candace is cannibalizing audiences. She's cannibalized the Daily Wire audience because those are her viewers. The Daily Wire's viewers, she's not getting new viewers from outside the Daily Wire audience. Those are her people. They're people. So all they're doing is all of them are snatching slices from the same white supremacist pie. That's all they're doing. But what they're not doing is converting new people among the groups they need. That's what they're not doing. In 2024 election, they got fewer votes than they did back in 2020. That means the number of people who voted shrank. They didn't become more popular. This was about who was the lesser of the two evils. That's what that election was. And they've been trying to repaint it as if somehow this was some historic election of people being interested. They were not interested. And it's a bunch of people trying to make money off of it in the meantime. So, yeah, as far as she's concerned, no, this is the same person she's always been.
No, I agree. And you're right, because a lot of black people stayed home. That's the only reason why they won. And also, I just want to know your prediction of what's going to be in the future. Do you see that Trump is going to fulfill his full term? Do you see they might try to Charlie Kirk him or somebody next?
Those are all very good questions, especially in light of last summer when Trump got shot at, and the fact that you ain't heard nothing else about that incident since. The fact that you have an FBI that, I mean, is the most shockingly brazen, sloppy cover up you ever saw. They're not even trying to give you an explanation. They're just saying, ain't no MIBs. That's all they're doing. They're just giving you the ain't no MIBs. Don't believe your lying eyes. This is the best they can do. All I can say is a person could be forgiven for feeling like there's somebody behind the scenes telling them, hey, look, nigga, you go out there and tell them whatever you need to tell them, but you better not tell them about us. It's going to be hard for you and your kids to buy that island if all of y'all pushing up daisies, so I don't give a damn what you tell them. You better not tell them about us. Now, I can't do that there, I can't really do that. It's look bad in public. You're going to look bad in the grave. So you got choices. You can either face the voters or you can face us. And it really is that simple. You can either face the wrath of the voters or you can face the wrath of us. You better look at your boy Jeffrey. Better look at your boy Charlie. Can't you tell we ain't bull jiving? Can't you see we ain't bull jiving with nobody? And those are just the two high profile ones. Do y'all realize how many people connected to Jeffrey Epstein are dead now? Y'all need to go back and go take a look at that list. There's a whole string of them. It's at least by my count over half a dozen. Dead. In just the last 4 years. Dead. People directly connected to him and they dropping like flies. Man, look here. It just seems to me that knowing this dude is hazardous to your health.
Didn't the Anthony Weiner, even the cops that seen the Anthony Weiner tapes died, didn't they?
Congressman Weiner? I don't remember that. If that happened, I must have missed it. But definitely anybody connected to Jeffrey, that's hazardous to your health. Anybody who got loose lips and go around talking, it's okay. You a prosecutor, you got wandering eyes, you like looking at stuff, okay, you got to get clipped. So a person could be forgiven for not writing all of this off as just some weird string of coincidences tied to one man. It just seems that the mortality ratio around Jeffrey Epstein is above the national average. Mm-hmm. If y'all had a dozen people who know me dead every other month, you'd be like, okay, Jason, what you doing? That's what you all would be saying. So I couldn't help but notice. In the case of Trump, it don't take much for him. He knows, but you ain't got no backup. You're not a real billionaire. You don't have any backup. These folk can touch you anytime they want to. But here's the thing. That's not the way they get down. The way they get down is, dude, we don't touch you. You better go take a look at Kennedy, fella. That's how we get down. The whole damn family gone. That's how we do this, partner. We get all of you. So you, your son, your nephew, your daughter-in-laws, bro, we pack. You ain't got a plane big enough to get the caskets up in here when we get through with you. At some point, half your family gonna get on a plane talking about they're going on vacation somewhere, and that plane ain't gonna make it. Or a train, or a carpool. It don't matter. Y'all gonna go off somewhere, and that's gonna be the last place y'all gonna be seen. And it's gonna be just that easy. Just that simple. And you'll be sitting there like old man Kennedy was, and you outlived most of your sons. So yeah, we might leave you alone and just go hit the kids. You got the damn message. You want them grandkids to grow up? If you want them grandkids to have a future in politics or breathing, I suggest grandpapa get with the program. Oh, you thinking about talking? I suggest you dummy up.
I believe they said it just like that too. Look at the FBI director. He always looks scared every time you see him.
The people that they promoted in politics are people they got blackmail on. They're all in the Epstein files, and they can't fight the system because they'll drop photographs of you. And if you try to get them first, even if you do get some of them, they're going to take out the family because this is a whole group of them. You don't know how big the net goes, especially if you're dealing with a foreign nation state. Please understand, folks, for those of you who do not know, the only reason why heads of state are not assassinated is because the heads of states don't do that. Vladimir Putin could take out Zelensky tomorrow if he wanted to. He could take him out tomorrow morning if that's what he wanted to do. He's not trying to do it. And Zelensky could take out Putin if he wanted to. And Putin could take out Trump, and Trump could take out Putin, and all of them can take out Xi in China. Y'all don't understand that, but it's basically a code of honor among them. Heads of state don't take each other out like that, unless you're one of them little guys that they want to take your oil from. But as far as the fellows who are like nuclear armed and whatnot, if you're in the nuclear club, they don't really do that. At least that's the way it's been. Could it change? I don't know. All I know is a person could be forgiven for saying, I'll be damned. Y'all sure do seem scared of Israel. Y'all sure do seem scared of Russia. You sure do seem scared of China. Y'all, I couldn't help but notice a couple of folks in there y'all seem real worried about. You just don't want to say nothing? You just telling all the rest of us, pipe down, shut up. Really? And old Dan Bongino ain't saying nothing no more. I guess he decided I need a career after politics because this old bull job they got going on here. I forget it. He needs to have the ability to walk this backward at some point. And he's the guy. As far as I'm concerned, he's the proof that this is a conspiracy in the cover up. The fact that he's not saying anything anymore. They just like, look, if you ain't gonna back the play, shut up. And he's like, all right, let me just shut up.
Yeah, he was the biggest talker when he was on Fox.
Well, doesn't Dan have cancer? I want to say Dan has cancer, or at least they said he did. So he might be in remission or whatever. So that's fine. But y'all might want to look into that. And I'm just saying, it's like, hey, dude, we can make it look like anything. We can make it look like anything. I'll let you have the last word.
Yeah, Dan and FBI dude when they were on Fox and not in politics, they were the biggest one for the list. As soon as they get inside, there's no list. And I told you, the FBI guy, every time you see him, his eyes is bug-eyed. He looks scared. He looked like he drugged up.
Well, I mean, his girlfriend's, I think, Israeli. So that's what everybody's talking about. Is his girlfriend's like 20 years younger than him and Israeli. So, dude, you little square ball, little bug-eyed little fella like Cash Patel. You ain't never had no chick who looks better than a strong foe before. So this is the first time he has ever had that. So, dude, they're all over the place, man. They are all over the place. And at some point, it doesn't just look funny. It is funny. At some point, this don't just look strange. At what point is it like, okay, this is too damn too. Your government seems afraid.
Yeah. Well, Jason, great broadcast once again. And I agree with all your points. And thanks for the discussion.
Thank you for giving us a call tonight. Let me see if we can get Nexion up here. All right, Nexion, what's on your mind?
As I look at the political landscape, the right, the left, the Congressional Black Caucus, I find, and I'm no insider, that they treat the truth subjectively rather than objectively. And if that is indeed the case, my question to you is, don't we have a government, people with sophists?
Okay, don't we have a government, people who are what?
Sophists, S-O-P-H-I-S-T-S, sophistry.
Oh, absolutely. No, that's the rule. That's the law of the land right there. And usually it's because what they will tell you is, politics, is corrupted by money. And that's not true. That's not true at all. Politics is how you divide up a society's resources. Money being the most important resource. Well, the folks who got the most to lose are the folks with money. Certainly with industry and whatnot. So they get people in there and compromising them becomes essential. Compromising them and having them under your finger becomes essential because elections may come and go, but if you got a 5-year, 10-year business strategy, you can't really have something major upheavals coming in there. So controlling them as quickly as you can, getting them under control as quickly as you can, and getting them to be more afraid of you than the constituency, that's absolutely important. But as far as deception and fooling the electorate, yeah. And the electorate's not. If you told the electorate who really runs you and whatnot, then half of them probably would still not care. But that's it. The rug is off. So they really look for somebody who's an expert at deceiving people. That he's a much better mouthpiece of being able to do it. You take a look at the guys who paid for Charlie Kirk, Montgomery, and Freese. Those fellas couldn't hold a conversation with a tin can. That's what they had Charlie for. And then he did nothing but lie all the time. So, yes, that's a requisite. Absolutely. Sophistry is a requisite.
Because the way you characterize, the way Charlie Kirk described the Trayvon Martin affair, instead of looking at it objectively, he chose to look at it subjectively.
Well, I mean, he just outright lied about the events. You know, this like I posted on Twitter there that, okay, if Trayvon Martin hunted down George Zimmerman, then Charlie Kirk hunted down Tyler Robinson, and that's why he's dead. We all saw the events. I mean, everybody knows the events are. So when you just sit up here and lie like that, this is not politics you're practicing anymore. When you do that right there, that's not politics anymore. This is something. Sophistry is a very diplomatic term. I would use the term wicked and evil. I would use that. This is not a situation where somebody got their purse snatched or even somebody got beat up. This kid's dead because some white supremacist was following him at 2 in the morning. And if this were Charlie Kirk's children and you were following his children, driving a Nissan Pathfinder, and you had a gun following his daughter at 2:00 in the morning, do you think that the argument would go beyond what you doing following her? Do you think anybody would even ask anything beyond that? And yet with Charlie Kirk, all of a sudden she's following you? Now, as far as I'm concerned, no, we're well beyond sophistry at this point. Now we're just evil. These are wicked, evil, demonic individuals.
I remember a film called The Exorcist, and one of the earmarks of the devil, according to the film, was that he mixes lies with the truth, and so it makes it hard to distinguish it. But I think if you have a government that's peopled by sophists, that the rest of the world is going to see through it, and that right now, the world's a very tenuous situation. There's a lot that's not being reported in the news, especially what's going on in Africa, what's going on in Venezuela. China's making a move. And I'm not really sure that America would survive a war against these other nations because Trump and Hedgepeth, these are not wartime people. I don't think that they're fighting. I don't think that they're smart enough.
Well, he's really wrecking his credibility here, what little bit he had, because he's threatening Afghanistan again with the Taliban. He's threatening Venezuela. The guy who said he was going to end the forever wars is like, let me go see if we can start 6 or 7. So basically, I don't think you can have any stronger evidence that he's serving somebody's interests, just not the American people, nor even the MAGA people. He's serving somebody's interests. He's pushing somebody's agenda. But it's just not the people he said to vote for him.
And my final point is, Jason, Trump is always talking about how much money America is making or has made off these tariffs. But if that's the case with the advent of AI, if they're making so much money, there's no reason for them not to establish a national income. But we still get our reparations.
Well, I mean, you already have a minimum wage, if that's what you mean. But if you're talking about like a universal basic income, the problem with the universal basic income is that income is the compensation that you receive for the value that you contribute to the economy. If we say that your value to the economy is simply that you're breathing, or maybe you're not, at that point right now, at that point right there, you've obliterated the concept of income. Because if you didn't contribute anything, how is that income? That can be charity, that can be, public, social services, but it can't be income because you contributed and produced no value. So that's the great trip up of universal basic income. You can give away some bigger welfare checks in some smaller areas and claim that you're doing some sort of UBI experiment, but that's not what you're doing. That's just welfare. So universal basic income wouldn't really work. It really, really wouldn't work.
Well, I heard it worked in other places like Switzerland, and I've heard, but this is much smaller population. But
okay, so are you saying that Switzerland has a universal basic income? Is that what you're saying?
No, I had read that they had offered them an additional $2,000 annually, but they turned it down.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. The people keep claiming that there's been these experiments in places like that, but the bottom line is that's just welfare. You and I can go give somebody $2,000. Can you run an economy on that? Now, that's the question. No, you can find a small group of people and throw some dollars like the strip club. What you cannot do is show us where that's an economy, because by definition, they did not produce value. The money didn't come from their value that they put into the economy. The money came from somebody else's value that they developed and then was given to somebody else. Whether it's Switzerland or Venezuela or Norway or whatever, that's the problem.
Okay, well, I was just thinking that maybe, if you're making all this money hand over fist, I guess they're going to have to do something with it. People are going to be put out of jobs with AI. They're going to have to find a way to make money. I mean, the economy's got to run some kind of way. But I was just thinking, I'm not an expert. So thanks for talking to me.
Thank you for giving us a call tonight. Yeah, sounds good on the face of it. It tends to be difficult. Let me go ahead and see if we can get Kansas up here. Let me see if we can grab Kansas up here. Kansas, hopefully you've been paying attention. All right, Kansas. All right, Kansas, what is on your mind? Okay, turn off your YouTube speakers, please. And why are you trying to give me a bird's eye view of your double D cups? What?
Lord,
okay, why do you have the cell phone buried in your cleavage? Ma'am, you got the camera in your playtext. What are we doing? I mean, besides putting on the show, what are we doing besides putting on the show? I mean, not that I'm complaining too much. Okay, she hung up. I mean, not that I was complaining. Can you feel me? I'm just like, she's trying to show a nigga something, so it's okay. I get it. Well, she say, Jason, it's side chick season coming up. I understand you starting early, but she just said, I'm getting right to the point. I thought we was going to have a political discussion. She was like, I interrupt this broadcast to bring you Magic City. All right, let's see if we can get back over here on Zoom again. Anybody else want to show me something? Oh, there goes Timmy. All right, I spoke too damn soon.
Oh, I'm about to walk him out. How you doing?
Timmy, did you call in last night?
No.
Okay. Put the phone closer, ma'am.
Okay. It was Friday.
Okay, what's on your mind?
Yes, I have a lot to say. So, first off, I thought it was crazy how before they showed the killer, the first thing they did was threaten. I'm sure you heard what he heard. They threatened all the black colleges, so now they have to ramp up a security. Then they had that weird march, white men fight back. Like, what the hell does that mean?
Because what they're showing you is that if they tell you that Charlie Kirk was not a white supremacist and a racist, then please tell me why it is that all of his followers' response to him getting killed by a white man is to go and threaten black people. If his life was not dedicated to white supremacy, if that was not the basis upon which he lived and the basis upon which everything at Turning Point is based on, then why is it that when he died, they did not go looking to go start trouble with white men? They said, we're going to go look for the nearest black people to go start trouble with if y'all are not about racism. That's a really weird response, isn't it?
It sure is. Then finally, I like the fact that you brought up the situation with Epstein and Trump, because I've been looking into his death as well, and the killer. So the killer supposedly should have had like a big rifle on top of the roof. But when they showed him climbing down the roof, there was no rifle. And then they said they found this rifle somewhere in the forest, but they said that he took it apart when he was on the
Y'all don't even want to start digging on this, really.
It's crazy.
Because they're saying he went to the place wearing one set of clothes, shooting at folk, broke down the rifle, changed clothes, put the rifle back together, buried it, changed clothes again. With a rifle that doesn't really break down like that.
Yeah.
And y'all, we are in an era where the government is just saying stuff. They don't give a damn if you can immediately disprove it. We are officially as American citizens, we are in the so what you gonna do about it era. This is where we at. The government's like, okay, fine. You don't believe it, you disproved it. Nick, what you gonna do? This is our story. This is the story. This is the way we said it. This is how we said it went. So what you gonna do about it then? Okay, so you say you got facts over there. You call that evidence. What you gonna? Okay, you claim you caught us lying. Okay, you caught us lying. Okay, what you gonna do about it? This is where we at now. We said he had the gun. Okay, I got the video right. Y'all showed the video. Ain't no gun. Just like Epstein, you clipped out a couple of minutes in there, and then wait a minute. The minutes you clipped out, we see a little shadow over there moving towards his cell. Okay, you caught us lying. What you gonna do about it? What you gonna do? This is where we are right now. Okay, you caught us. What you gonna do? And that's a scary position to be in when you think about it. Folks can sit up here and go clip somebody and then be like, what you gonna do? But then again, as black folk, we've been living under that for a while now, haven't we?
Absolutely. And now they see how it feels. And a lot of these supremacists, they are going crazy because they are even I hear some of them talking they how the hell how do you have 3 different killers that you arrest and then the last one looks nothing like the other one? First of all, it was a Hispanic guy, and it was an old dude who was supposedly, they said it was Israel, and then
no, it's all looking so damn familiar because remember when Malcolm X was killed, which we all know was orchestrated by the FBI and the New York Police Department. Now, decades later, after all these decades of telling you that you were all conspiracy theorists and that wasn't real, and that's what the government's told people forever. If you question the narrative, you're a conspiracy theorist. They've been saying that forever. And now that you look up later, it's like, oh no, you were lying the whole time. We were right. It was a conspiracy the whole time. Remember with Malcolm X to get them distracted. Nigga, get your hands out my pockets. Remember, there's somebody in the audience yelling and causing a commotion. Now folk go running over in one direction while the real bad guys are heading in the other direction. And now you're starting to see in this incident, it starts to look the same. You supposed to be looking for the killer, and then there's some weirdo out here and whatnot gathering everybody's attention going in this direction. And next thing you know, the rifle's here. No, it's not. I'm wearing one thing. I'm wearing another. I'm out the street here. We don't want to tell you when the text messages came in. Oh, by the way, the text messages we claim, that's not actually the text messages. And he confessed. Well, he didn't really confess, but trust us, we questioned him and he confessed. Just believe us. That going on, man, look here.
Sound like the Kennedy case.
No, at least with the Kennedy case, they had something that seemed plausible. We're sitting here in real time seeing where it's not adding up, and they're like, nope, it adds up fine. And this is where we are right now. We are in you can believe the government or your lying eyes. This is the era we in right now.
This government is diabolical. And I know that Trump, and let me tell you another thing that's crazy. Okay. So I don't know if you saw the interview when they interviewed Trump and asked him how he felt. So he said, oh, I'm feeling better. Then he goes on a rampage about how he's going to build another.
Well, yeah, that's what got Jimmy Kimmel in trouble there. But yeah, I mean, it's just showing you either he's out of his mind or somebody told him, yeah, enough talking about that. He's up on that. Stop bringing people's attention back to that. Y'all need to get your little memorial. And all I can say is I'm going to tell y'all this right now. Yeah. If the Republicans keep pushing this Kirk thing for the next couple of months, which by the way, will just get really old, then maybe it's legit. If you see them drop it after this week, somebody sent the word. Okay, y'all finished boo-hooing and singing the blues. Y'all need to let this issue go, and take this as a warning for the rest of you. But yeah, y'all need to quit raising his name. He gone. somebody sent the word. If you see it happen this week, somebody sent the word. Enough talking about him.
One more question. Right? Okay. So I don't know if you send that. I'm not a fan of what's her name, Candace Owens, but she says she has actual receipts that he got into some conflict with Israel. Now he's pro-Israel, but there were certain things that they were trying to push on him that he didn't like. There was money, like he could have been a billionaire supposedly, but he turned something down, and it made them mad. And all of a sudden,
no. Long story short, no. But clearly, he was getting paid a bunch of money. Some of that money is from Jewish interests, Bill Ackman and some others. Because, of course, if you're somebody of significance, they want to get their hooks up in there so they can utilize you to, promote their ends. So that's going to happen once you get to a certain level. And up until now, he'd been towing the line. So, I mean, there's plenty of Jewish sponsors and Zionist sponsors for Turning Point. There's plenty of that. The issue becomes for them is that, okay, don't think you're going to sit up here and get blowed up off our money and then start speaking against us. And that's how you do it with them niggas. Niggas will pay you to speak against them, but we don't do that over here. So kind of makes it looks kind of funny style, but it wasn't, I don't think that was the kind of situation that it was. The other thing is, people, I need y'all to back away from the TV screens for a little bit. I just said this once, but tonight I'm trying to tell you here again, there's a reason why you all don't hear me talk like this. Please do not believe that Candace Owens is a reliable source of information on everything. Please don't do that. Please don't think that just because she's on the internet and she says it with such conviction and she sounds so sincere that she's being truthful. Please don't let her fool you with well, I sent them an email asking for comment on it and they didn't say nothing, so they must be guilty. Please don't fall for that. Please don't. Candace Owens is in a last-ditch, desperate fight for her life right now. When she went to Daily Wire, they were guaranteeing her millions of dollars. They were guaranteeing her millions of dollars. And she was hoping to ride out on that. When she had her falling out with them, there goes the gravy train. Now she has to make it on her own. The good news is she was able to get her channel up and make a pretty good go of it. The bad news is, and I need you all to understand this, that woman at this point will say anything. I'm hearing cockamamie things. She'll say anything now. She needs to keep her numbers up and she will say anything. She'll say anything. She'll do anything as long as it's keeping numbers up and keeping the income coming in. It does not help when you are being sued by the same lawyers that successfully sued Fox News for $1 billion for Dominion voting systems. And now they're suing you for the president of France. That's not good. That's at the top of the list of not good things. Yeah, that's number 2 or 3. You don't want that law firm coming for you. They are obviously exceptionally good at what they do. And now you ain't even Fox News. You small potatoes. And they're like, yeah, we're going to show you who the boss is. That's not good. Now you got Bill Ackman, multi-mega billionaire. Now he's like, hey, Candace, France ain't the only one can sue you. They're not the only ones got lawyers. You use my name real reckless and claiming you know things. And don't be surprised if you end up in a courthouse somewhere. So you need to pipe down because you're fighting one major lawsuit. You're about to be fighting 2 of them.
She's crashing out.
Well, what I'm saying, though, is that she says those things because it gets attention and she gets it at a higher level than most other people do. But the problem is for her, it would be worth it to sue her into oblivion. Don't believe me? Go take a look at Alex Jones. At some point, you get so big and so problematic that it becomes worth it to sue you into oblivion. And she needs the income and stuff. But, I mean, whether it's Tasha K or whatever, folks are out here saying things. It's like, okay, everybody does that until the lawyers show up. Then next thing you know, it changes to something different. So, like I say, in Candace's case, do not believe everything you're hearing. I don't care how substantiated it seems. I'm just telling you, this is Candace Owens' new shtick. She's the X-Files. She's decided that this is not too politically risky, but it does give her her own lane. And she's very inquisitive. So that's what she is now, is like the X-Files.
She's a black female, what's his name? Alex Jones, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly where she is today.
She really has lost her mind.
Right. And politically, it's a lot less offensive. She's not aggravating black folk no more. So it's safer. That's why a lot of y'all are watching her, because it's safe to watch. It's safer to watch now than it's been in years past. She's not really going at Democrats heavy. And she's not really going at the MAGA base heavy either. She's talking about subjects that are controversial but really don't offend people on the political spectrum. That's the sweet spot for her. That's the sweet spot right there. So, but as a result of that, please understand that she's also going to go overboard to try to attract as much attention and retain as much as she can. And she's just saying stuff. And I'm just telling you right now, she better hope beyond all hope that you do an MRI or an X-ray on Brigitte Macron and you find some male body parts. Because if that doesn't happen, she's finished. She's off in Alex Jones land. She's done. It's over.
A wrap.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. We appreciate that. Let me get back over here right quick. Let me jump back over here right quick. Come here, Kansas. I'm coming from Kansas. Where are you at, Kansas? There you go.
Oh, my God.
Oh, and she's giving me the aerial view of him now.
Damn!
I know, man. It usually a difficult life. Oh, the Lane Bryant people know you by name. They just use the car seat straps, the seatbelt straps for your bra. It's a difficult life you lead. I understand.
I'm gonna need you to stop.
She's carrying a burden, y'all. What's on your mind, Kansas?
Okay, so I was just wanting to come on and point out the fact that we cannot in any way dismiss the way that we have been misled as a people by the Democratic Party. Although they all work together, we know there's a left wing and a right wing on the same bird. We understand that. All of this has exposed something to them that we already knew. But I have something that I have had ownership of for a while.
Okay, baby, pick your phone back up. Your breastises are blocking your cell phone signal. Put it back up.
What? I'm finished telling you.
You showing me plenty already. I'm just saying this. Okay, your memories are blocking the cell phone reception. Clearly, I'm trying to help you.
There you go. Whatever. So basically.
Thank you. Now that you put it back up near your face, now your signal is clear again. But go ahead. I'm not saying it because it sounds funny. You put that thing up under him and the signal went out. As soon as you put it back up near your face, now you're clear again.
Put my phone there.
Okay, man. People don't want to hear us talk about your issues all night, but go ahead.
Okay. Anyways, I'll just let it go with that. Let's just not dismiss how we maybe were led astray by the Democratic Party, and understand that we don't have to just vote for them blindly. I think that enough people don't make that be important. What you want be a policy. I'm gonna get off here with you. Bye.
Well, all right. Well, I was hoping you could stick around for a minute. But yeah, y'all can't see what I'm seeing. But I'm just like, she was doing good. It was up by her face. It was talking clear. As soon as she put the phone in her lap, all I see is a shadow. And I'm like, oh, they are blocking the signal. Ma'am, I'm trying to help you. You think I'm just being funny. I'm not going to put you out there for the world to see you, but you didn't hear her argue with me. I'm not lying on her. Yeah, it's probably the metal in that bra. What? It's probably the metal in there. Big as that thing is. Yeah, the coils, the metal coils in there are blocking the signal. They're messing with the signal, so you got to keep it up here because you put it down too low and it's interfering with the signal. So it's, It's causing radio frequency interference. Them G cups stand for 2G. What? Yeah, them G cups stand for 2G. She's trying her best. She said, I got to get in here and call him. Okay. I wasn't gawking. You can't gawk when it's filling up half the space of the screen space. I'm not gawking at anything. I'm trying to host a program, doing the best I can. I don't know whether it's this or OnlyFans or whatever. I'm doing the best I can over here. It's hard being me. Y'all don't understand. It's tough being me, man. This ain't no cakewalk. You can't just put any old nigga in this seat and he do this. You don't know some of the stuff I got to deal with and still keep even-handed. So it's hard to do this. You need a certified professional who is qualified to be able to handle situations like this without things breaking down into a complete buffoonery. That's what y'all have me here for. All right, we got Brother Elijah over here on Zoom. Brother Elijah, what's on your mind?
All right, B1, Big Brother Jason. Before I say anything, Reader's Digest tonight for the other brothers and sisters. 2 questions, Big Brother. Excellent broadcast. But with your opinion, I've been thinking about this after listening tonight. And I know your stance on how you feel about the HBCUs, but with this whole violating the brothers and sisters' freedom of speech at these PWIs, do you think that maybe not now, but down the road, the young brothers and sisters who are finishing high school should reconsider going back home to the HBCUs? That's my first question.
I mean, it depends, because the HBCUs have not really done a whole lot of to bolster the argument for supporting them is the issue. That's the real issue. They're the ones who have made it difficult, not me, not them. So they have to make the argument for themselves. Right. I will tell you one thing. I need you all to understand something. Brother, we can't tell these young people. See, this is difficult. Folks want to try to shield them from white supremacy, and I'm like, no. Let the white supremacists do what they do, brother. You cannot teach these young people from your experiences. Those were your experiences. You got to they'll sit up here and be cooning out with Candace Owens and telling you ain't no racism. I bet you she believes that there's racism after Greg Abbott put her in handcuffs. I bet you she believe it now.
Yes,
and doesn't need you to say a word to her.
Yes, sir.
And all her friends who saw it too, brother. So we have to understand that, yes, we can try to teach them and try to warn them, but at the end of the day, we got to let them get out there and see what white supremacy does. Raw, naked, in living color, in the flesh. Let them see this is what they really do. They're not honorable. They're not honest. They're bad people. And now she's had her own experience. They're having their own experiences. They're seeing just how bad they really are and just how far they really go. You and me will never have to say another word convincing them again for the rest of our lives.
Yes, sir.
That's it. This one experience has done all the talking. It's done all the talking. And this is what we need. So to an extent, I want Trump to run wild. I want the right wingers to sit up here and violate rights. I want them to do what they've always done. Stop pretending like you don't violate rights. Get back to doing what you do. Right now, they're showing you who they really are. Well, Jason, we should have stopped this. The hell we should. Because you see, he didn't take it seriously when we stopped it. When Barack Obama was in office, everybody wanted to pretend racism was over. Remember post-racial America?
Right. Yes, sir.
That's the first thing folks wanted to do. They didn't say that the threat is bigger than ever. Oh, it's post-racial America now. And then Joe Biden. Every time we start making progress, folk want to try to figure out how to sit down. No, damn sitting down. Turn the heat up, let it blaze. Turn the heat up, let it blaze. And no, it's not going to be for just a minute. It's going to be up in here until you are sick in the skull of it. Until now you take the threat seriously. Without me standing over you, preaching to you. Hey, man, you really need to take this serious. Now, forget all that. Greg Abbott showed up and showed them more in one day than I could show them in 100 years. They believe it now.
Yes, sir.
They believe the threat is real now. And they believe it's real on our terms. Okay. It'll be a whole lot easier for us next time we talk to them.
Yes,
whole lot easier. But no, we need to stop protecting them. Let them get out here and meet these folk and try to show us that it doesn't exist. Get out here and show me white supremacy don't exist. Because you've been getting protected from it by us up until this point. Now we're going to let them run wild. Okay, now prove to us that ain't real.
Yes, sir. There's a follow-up part to the question because I heard you mention it last night. There was a certain incident with a young brother. I know you know about it. I do have this question because that's why I was asking about these HBCUs, and I do have this question. That's a very big, to my understanding, a big university. I'm watching my words, but I think people can catch on. That's a very big university, and what I'm going to say next, should we go out there and fight hard for them to release that video footage of what really happened, and if they don't release that video footage, in the words of Dr. John Henry Clark,
release what footage
of what happened to that young brother on that campus in Mississippi.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You want to have as much evidence as possible. Here's the thing, brother. We've seen things a whole lot more convincing up front in the video. Now what?
No, I understand, but if there is any pushback, do you think the brothers and sisters on that campus should, since something like that is happening, maybe we should see another 2020, if you know what I'm saying?
That's up to them. But the real thing is, for those of them who thought that was just George Floyd 5 years ago, the folks, because you have to remember, every 4 years, you have a class of high school students entering college.
Yes, sir.
Every 4 years, though, they were freshmen in high school, now they're freshmen in college. And there's been a lot of misinformation and disinformation and folks telling them that, oh, you got a cell phone and you have interracial sexual access, ain't no racism, and you have a white girlfriend, nobody did nothing to you, and then you show something like this over here. So it's important that they see these things so that they can respond from their own experiences, not from our telling them to.
Yes, sir.
But this is what's going to build them. The most important thing we can do is let them know that, no, you're not crazy. Yeah, you really do see this. And they have a lighthouse and a place to rally or whatever. But yeah, they're going to have to be conscious of these things on their own and realize that, it doesn't matter how nice your iPhone is if somebody can lynch you. It doesn't matter how nice your Jordans are if somebody can lynch you in them.
Yes, sir.
So you died with your Jordans and your iPhone on.
Yes, sir.
And that's the important part. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me see if we can get Yo Gamedi up here. All right, we got Yo Gamedi up here. What's on your mind?
Nothing much, brother. Just thanking you for keeping me up to speed on certain things. I never have time to catch up on all this political stuff, but just thank you for keeping me up to speed on things. Your videos help out a lot.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that was it. And last time we spoke about 5 months ago, it was actually 22 last time we spoke. Right. I forget which video that was.
You say you're 22 years old now?
No, I'm 23 now. It was 22 back when I first met you.
And what do you think about the recent events, brother?
Well, this is something else. I mean, the reaction from the right about old Charles Kirk's death and all. This is definitely some shit. Then apparently, old boy, some guy in Mississippi was found hanging in a tree a couple of days ago. That's even crazier shit.
Yeah, I'm still waiting to get a little bit more information on that. But what do you think about the Charlie Kirk situation?
I don't exactly feel bad for the guy concerning what he said about black folks at all. Probably about it. And them forcing us to actually want to, mourn them when they're like a whole, having the football players mourn them and take a knee for them at a football game and shit like that.
Take a knee for a guy who attacked black folk for doing it.
Yeah, exactly. They made them do those certain things.
Do you realize that that's a hazing?
Hazing?
Yeah, hazing. Like when you want to join a fraternity?
Oh, yeah.
It's like a punishment ritual here. So this is supposed to be them sitting up here trying to punish us for 2020 and really before that. That's them trying to bully you around.
Mm-hmm.
That's not accidental. They're
On
specifically
purpose, right?
doing those things. This is specifically, okay, we're going to show you and bully you around. Y'all were bullying us. We're going to bully you around. So that's what that's for. That gesture right there. And obviously, y'all were against people taking the knee. Now, all of a sudden, you know, take a knee for white supremacy. Okay. That's not accidental.
Definitely some bullshit. But after talking with you and getting with some other brothers, I actually have been doing some more research on books. You know, I'm assuming you know who Nelly Fuller Jr. was and all that, right? His code and book and all that. I actually got that. I actually got Chancellor Williams' book here too.
Very good. The Destruction of Black Civilization. Everybody should have that.
Yeah, I keep hearing that's a must read, so I wanted to try and read it myself. So I've just been going through.
Well, the ISIS papers, Destruction of Black Civilization, Brother Neely Fuller and the Compensatory Code System Concept. I gotta tell you, like I say, if there's anybody whose life's work people should review, because Dr. Francis Cress Welsing studied Neely Fuller, and he wasn't a doctor, but he was a very, very well-studied person. The real testament of Neely Fuller's life was that he dedicated himself to deconstructing white supremacy. And that is where you're taking the arguments, taking what you appear to see and reducing it down to what the facts of it actually are. And that's why when the arguments they make, in a lot of cases, we can just repeat him. There's only one racism, white supremacy. Well, there's also black supremacy. You can't have two supremes. White supremacy always takes both sides of an argument. Well, we don't argue over good and bad. Neely Fuller talked about that. Who defines what's good or bad? The person in power defines what's good or bad. However, we can all define what is constructive and what is deconstructive. Therefore, justice is not supporting, quote, the good or bad. Justice, according to him, is whatever is the most constructive outcome for the highest number of people. Oh, well, that's a different animal. When I see you being very constructive for a small part of the population and destructive to the rest, oh, well, this is not just. This is unjust by math. So that's deconstruction of it. Somebody trying to flim-flam and jive talk around you, when you can deconstruct it like that and then their arguments fall flat, at that point right there, you're done. So that's really the legacy of him. So I think that a person be well served to study everything. Did I agree with everything necessarily down to the minute? No. However, I think you're very, very well served by studying Brother Neely Fuller as well.
Mm-hmm. Of course. Because I was reading it and he said there's like 9 areas of white supremacy has a foothold. It was like
the 9 areas of human activity.
Yeah, human activity. Yeah. I'm on chapter 2 right now. I just got past the economics chapter. It's on education now. So I still got a lot of reading to do, but I'm gonna get through it. I just want to do research into it, like people said, and the death of destructive black civilization.
Good start, brother. Check back with me.
Mm-hmm. All right, brother. I'll see you around.
Yes, sir. The reason why I have you all do those things there is not just reading for the sake of reading. Please remember, you've got these white supremacists out here to this day repeating debunked talking points they've been trying to push now for decades, saying that black people were too dumb, didn't know how to make a wheel, didn't have a building that was taller than 2 stories tall, didn't have a writing system. And if you don't know about the destruction of black civilization, if you don't know our history, if you don't know the ISIS papers, and if you don't know that, by the way, these aren't even honest arguments. These are not arguments coming from an honest broker of a discussion. This is a white supremacist who's giving you white supremacist talking points. And when you confront it from that angle, that, yeah, you're really a white supremacist, and let's go ahead and deal with this white supremacist strategy you're trying to promote. Oh, that's where Neely Fuller comes in. When you've been taught how to deconstruct white supremacist talking points, all of a sudden that doesn't get through. Yes, that's why Charlie Kirk targeted college kids, because these evil, wicked, demonic white supremacists were like, let's see if we can infect the colleges. That's why they put up this full frontal assault on professors in the colleges, Turning Point telling colleges to get rid of professors who they didn't like the way they were teaching classes. You're too woke. Yeah, a full frontal assault on the college students. A full frontal assault on them to try to indoctrinate them into white supremacy. And the problem is you'll have the black academics are useless. Mark Lamont Hill spazzing out and squealing on Pierce Morgan. That's the kind of effeminate G-string wearing clown who can't make it through a discussion there. And Charlie will seem like the sensible, sane person in the room. Your black academics, by and large, are bipolar personalities who really can't make a convincing argument, or they have a bunch of knowledge, but they're not very good communicators. And it allows a clown like Charlie to go onto their campuses, and if you give them an hour or so, he'll have your children confused. But also, that what it does show you is that on these campuses, they're not even having discussions with them about events that happened 10 years ago. People, if these campuses and their parents have not told these kids about what happened to Trayvon Martin 10 years ago, then you know full damn well they don't know what happened to George Floyd 5 years ago. And they damn sure don't know what happened with Dr. King 50 years ago. So when Kirk comes and tells you George Floyd, it was his own fault he got killed, and Trayvon's own fault he got killed, and by the way, Dr. King was a bad guy. If your parents are not telling you about what happened 5 years ago, I'd be a fool to think that they've educated you about what happened 5 decades ago. And here he comes to show up, and your children are assuming, well, he's on the internet, he must be accurate. And that's the strategy they were using. Intellectual laziness. Well, he's on the internet, he must be telling the truth. I mean, I've seen him all on YouTube. Certainly there's not a bunch of bot accounts. Certainly these aren't all bot accounts. Well, he's on campus, he must be telling the truth. And this is why when you talk about your HBCUs, you know, I don't think Kirk ever went to an HBCU, did he? I can't imagine if he did, he was running over their asses, but did he ever go to an HBCU and try that there? Or did he only have his white supremacist talking points at the predominantly white institutions where he could get away with that? Yeah, that's not accidental, people. That's strategic. That's deliberate. He didn't want to have somebody who actually may know something about Afrocentrism, be able to talk about this, somebody who's a professor of African American studies. He doesn't really want that. That's not what he was there for. He was a deliberate broker of disinformation, attacking your children if you're ignorant of it. We have a major education effort that we have to have, and certainly what they're hoping is everybody's buried off in their cell phones and looking to go turn up, and the parents are looking to sit up here and go turn up, and nobody's educating the kids, and here they're going to send out poison pills to come and propagandize your children and lie to them about what occurred, and then hope that there's nobody there who will say what actually happened. So we need to have a very large re-education effort. Let me go ahead and get back over here on Zoom again. We got Tyler up here on Zoom. Tyler, what's on your mind? Unmute yourself, Tyler.
Yes, sir. How you doing this evening? Good to see you, brother Jason. All right. Yo, real quick. So there was the Philly shooting, right? White supremacy has been trying to figure out up from down since this Charlie Kirk incident. And in the Philly shooting, they said they're calling the shooter an actor on TV. They're refusing to say his name more than once. I've never seen a press conference with that type of protocol. So they're already losing it, right? And what happened was they described that he was wearing camo. So we already know what it was. So they tried to hide that up. Second, I think it was either last night or the night before in New Hampshire at a country club, somebody came and shot the spot up. Now, you know, Black people can't get within 500 feet of a country club, especially one on the East Coast. So we already know what that situation is. So they're also keeping that under wraps. I was checking out that.
But remember, the issue is gangs. Wink, wink. The issue is Chicago. There's no problems in white society. The problem is Black culture. Or as Jillian Michaels said, Black degeneracy. Black degeneracy, as a matter of fact, creates white degeneracy. Isn't that right, Jillian Michaels? Those were your words. It's out of context. I'm repeating your words. It can't be out of context if I'm repeating it. By definition, it's not out of context if I'm repeating it. But yeah, just remember the issue is gangs, Chicago, Black on Black crime, Black degeneracy, and just remember that. In white society, there's no issue. And by the way, the Charlie Kirk thing, well, that was just one shooting. In this other city, that's another one. And in New Hampshire, well, that's just another one. Yeah.
man, Jason, all over the country. So there was 3 things that white supremacy decided to throw out the window this week, Jason. One was journalistic integrity. We're talking what's that? Breaking Points, the Saga and Crystal, the people supposed to be super rebel, talking truth to power. They completely followed the narrative and jumped on trans people. The officer given the updates on the Charlie Kirk shooting, I don't know why they kept talking about his the boyfriend was a man transitioning to female. I'm trying to figure out what's the nexus. What does that have to do with the price of tea in China? And what are the cops doing talking about someone's sexuality? Never heard this in a press conference. So that's one thing.
But here's the issue. You can be gay and be a groiper.
True.
Folks, I mean, if you want to know, you want to shut this down real quickly here. Being gay doesn't make you left-winger. You take a look at his family. You can be gay and be a groiper. You can be gay and be alt-right. What? You can be gay and be in Charlottesville. You can be gay and be a white supremacist. Absolutely. But yeah, you just as he's gay does not mean that he wasn't a groiper. And that's the part they don't want people to wrap their heads around. Even if he was gay, that still doesn't mean he's not a groiper.
Jason, they had the separation of church and state is the second thing that white supremacy threw out the window today, this week. I was watching that Charlie Kirk service today. That thing felt like a church service. I heard the term, I love me some Lord. But as the president and the vice president, you are not. And he had the whole cabinet up there, plus the cabinet's cousins. And if you got a brother or sister, go ahead and bring them up there too. Everybody's making all these speeches. There was no separation to church, and they rented out the whole State Farm Stadium. Jason, you know numbers. That's not no cheap thing to do. That's not no cheap thing to do.
Then that's cheap for white folk. I mean, they got all the money stolen. So, I mean, yeah.
Real spit. And the third thing, Jason, logic. I'm not gonna name too many people, but DeVory, Simpson. There's a DeVory Light, Matt Walsh, Megyn Kelly, PBD. They all said, forget my journalistic integrity. We're going in. So the free speech thing, Jason, I was trying my best to follow it. They're saying free speech, you have it. You absolutely have the right to say whatever you want, but there are consequences. Okay, well, I could have said whatever I wanted before you said that. So what's the difference now? So I was supposed to be able to say it without consequence initially anyway. So they're doing all type double speak. We need to move up to triple speak, Jason. This is not double speak. This is triple speak. And it's crazy to see these people just throwing themselves on the fire, on the sword for white supremacy and really the black ones. Like DeVory's doing the most. There's this DeVory Light guy. He was talking about how black people were doing better, of course, in the past, but he said now they're talking about reparations as if it's some crazy thing for black people to talk about reparations. They sent their black flunkies to the mat all week, Jason, all week.
Yeah, I mean, look, YouTube is not accidental in that regard. It's not accidental. So they got a bunch of them out there. They have a bunch of YouTubers and stuff out there who they're bought and paid for coons. Most of them are, newcomers. Most of them are immigrants. Let's just keep it real. Most of them are coming from over there. And I promise you, if you would investigate them, you'll find the same funding behind all of them. If you check into them, these folk who just have blown up in the last year or whatever, or at least they've had run up numbers and stuff, and YouTube is always putting them on your front page. You never asked for this. This ain't the kind of stuff you listen to, but all of a sudden there they are. Yeah. If you look into them, you're going to find that, this is all AstroTurf. This is more of that Turning Point stuff. There's somebody's founding it. Somebody's paying for it. Because remember, all these organizations may have inside tracks to YouTube. Hell, and Facebook too, by the way. So like Daily Wire, these people got an inside track to them. The CNBC. I just keep it in the YouTube realm though. But in the YouTube realm. So these people here, they got an inside track to them. PewDiePie and, whoever your favorite right-winger is or whatever, Patrick Bet David. These people got inside track to YouTube. They're not sitting up here. They got a phone number they can call. So these people are plugged in. They are chosen by them because it's what they want to promote. They're not a threat to the system. They're not a threat to the system at all. And if you're checking a bunch of these other folk here, they kind of got them to, they have a bunch of them out there and their job is to look authentic, but they're all saying the same thing. Okay. Okay, you part of the system too there. So just keep that in mind.
Absolutely. The mark of the beast was everywhere this week, and it was pathetic. I mean, it just the wide range. If anybody was asleep thinking white supremacy and still throwing bows, now you know. Now you know. Last thing, Jason, the hypocrisy on the stats. I'm over here on Twitter scrolling, and somebody in response to either you or one of the other paragons in Black empowerment, I forgot which post it was, but they listed the per capita stats. How many Black people per 100,000 commit murder? And I immediately was like, wait a second. Aren't the people saying that stats cannot establish racism? So the stats on per capita are legit, but the stats on wealth, employment inequality, housing, education, those are off limits. Those are illegitimate. White supremacy doesn't know up from down right now, Jason. I appreciate you. I appreciate the broadcast. And as always, just want to do my part for Black empowerment. Be one, brother Jason.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. You know, don't y'all get bogged down, really. Look, these folks here, there's a reason why the only time they talk about quote unquote crime stats is in some weird little post online. There's a reason why it's relegated to that. There's a reason for that. And the reason for that is because to anybody who actually knows about it, you can't, those are arguments that are very easily knocked down. Those are arguments that are very easily knocked down. So that's a very, very important thing to keep in mind here. What is a crime? What is a crime? Remember, we covered that before, remember? See, that's important. There's a reason why the Charlie Kirks will only talk to high school students. And don't get bogged down in where the stats come from. See, because unless you have an alternative source for stats, you can't argue about their source. That's going to be an argument you're going to lose. What you really want to go into is, okay, does this tell the whole story? What is a crime? And that's when you start realizing that, by the way, they're leaving out a lot of things. So when you start getting into that, it's just like that, Black folk never had a wheel. Once you start debunking that, then all of a sudden they look for something else. They start looking for something else. So that's the thing you want to keep in mind. When folks start trying to talk about crime stats, you start talking about sexual abuse stats. Now, we all know who leads in that. You want to talk about molestation stats? We know who leads in that. And remember, we all know those numbers are grossly underreported. When it comes to shootings, those numbers are pretty accurately reported. And when it comes to sexual abuse, we all know that those are tremendously underreported, especially in the Catholic Church. What? You see, Black folk could never have a church where they're molesting children for decades and nobody's arrested to this day. Oh, see, they don't say that now, do they? See, you don't have any place where Black folk are doing that I can show you where white folk are molesting folks for decades and ain't nobody getting arrested. It's not even an open secret. There's a whole bunch of Jeffrey Epsteins out there. Jeffrey Epstein was not no damn exception. Jeffrey Epstein was the rule. If you want to talk about crime stats, let's go. There's a reason why they'll call other people and they won't ring this one up. They don't want to do that. They know who doesn't really know how to refute it, and they know who does. Okay, don't talk to him. Talk to somebody else. We need to make a TikTok clip. Don't talk to Jason. Oh, hell. And please understand, even as tremendous as those numbers are, remember, we know for a fact that those numbers are grossly underreported. We know that we're not getting anywhere near what the numbers actually are every year. Oh, they're not going to want to talk about that then. Now they don't want to talk about that. Well, Jason, they want to discuss violent crime. Okay, we can go ahead and do that too if you'd like to. Remember, the majority of so-called violent crimes are actually economic crimes. Oh boy. Am I teaching you all how to debunk a Charlie Kirk? And why is it that all your so-called African studies teachers and all your academics at your schools didn't say this? The majority of the crimes that they talk about in black society, those are economic crimes. They're very, very quick to tell you that. Oh, you're worried about being robbed. Oh, that's an economic crime. Well, if you're going to count that, then we're not the lead in that either. You see, a person who's low on the totem pole has to resort to very high risk, low yield activities like picking up a gun and robbing something. That's what poor individuals who are very low on the ladder and low in resources have to do. They have to do very super high risk things like getting a gun and trying to rob somebody. But you see, you have to do that when you don't have access to more sophisticated means. When you've got access to more sophisticated means of stealing resources from people, well, you don't need a gun. You just need a pen or a laptop. You just need that. Oh, well, we know who leads the world in that. Oh, you see, they don't have to pick up a gun. They have a laptop and a spreadsheet. They've got an IPO. They got penny stocks. They got insider trading. They've got access to the loan officer's books. They work in the accounting office. They got the city and the state giving their nonprofit money and not asking what they're doing with it. They're the CEOs of the Fortune 500 and the Fortune 1000. Oh, those people. Oh, well, I'll be damned. Well, when you count their victims are not counted as 50,000 a year. Their victims are counted as 50 million people that they victimize a year. Economic crime. Oh, yeah. And one more thing. They're not being prosecuted.
Nigga, what?
They're not being prosecuted. One more thing. They commit these crimes with impunity. No one is pursuing them for prosecution. So the guy who took your money, stealing your wallet, he's going to be prosecuted. The telecommunications company that overcharged you for service, or the automobile company that sold you cars with bad engines, General Motors, Ford, Toyota, Honda. Well, no one's making them reimburse you. They took your money. No one's making them reimburse you. And you're just out. And no one's prosecuting them. So they can steal your money. They can steal your money just so long as they don't do it with a gun. Well, you know, if these other fellows could do that, that'd be different. You see, when you try that, you're Omi and a Hellcat. When Omi and a Hellcat tries it, get your ass in jail. Logan Paul can end up making another con coin. What? Oh, you don't want me going here? Logan Paul and Donald Trump can start a con coin. They can start their con crypto coins. They're con man crypto coins. They can get millions or billions of dollars. Nobody's coming to prosecute them. Victims by the thousands. And no one is calling. They've redefined that to say that's not a crime. Yeah, that ignorant girl. We would be here all night going down the list. See, you can't get a coin going like that. These other folk here, oh, there they go. And that's not a crime. Now, you and I obviously see those are economic crimes, but they're white. So those are, when white folk do it, that's not a crime. When they commit an economic crime, it's not really a crime. But they'll come and tell you that what you've done is a crime. Yeah, you see, when you are destitute and don't really have any options and don't really have any power or capability, you have to do crazy, wildly reckless and highly risky things like picking up a gun. You have to do that. Not these other folk. They don't have to do that. Just you. Those are economic crimes. These are not people who didn't like each other crimes. This is not you were filling on their nephew crimes. That happens over there with other folk, and then they come shoot you 20 years later. No, if it's an economic crime, yeah, by the way, it's not that folks are not doing that. It's that, by the way, other folks have more sophisticated means, and the prosecutors will overlook it on a daily basis. It's only a crime if a Negro tries to do it. You all try it and see what happens. You try the same thing that Logan Paul did and see what happens. Somebody mentioned Uber in the chat room. You try doing what Uber did and see what. You try operating as a taxi cab company without license, and you see what the city and state comes to do to you. You try operating a taxi cab company with no license and no regulation and no approval in your city, your state, and see what happens to you when you do. Try it. See what happens when you try it. These are rules that only get enforced when you show up. For everybody else, oh well, let them cook. When you show up, lock that nigga up. Yeah, for everybody else, and they're allowed to pursue it and see where it goes. In your case, oh no, get your ass in the paddy wagon. So do not let people sit up here and wrap you up in these conversations and whatnot, and so you're not aware of it. If you're actually listening to me, all you gotta do is just repeat what I said. Just repeat what you just heard me say. That's it. They're already done. The effort to repackage white supremacy has failed. The desperate effort to repackage it has failed. That doesn't mean they're going to quit trying to talk about it, but just understand the body's dead. It's over. It's finished. It's done. It's done. And at this point, the more they try to breathe life into this Frankenstein monster, the worse it will get. And by the way, this is good. What? This is exactly what we want. We want them pouring all of their resources and all their power into futile gestures and futile strategies. Heaven forbid they actually find something that could actually work. I want them to keep doing what they're doing right now. This is something that cannot work. It's already dead and done. Keep pouring tons of money and time and effort into it, seeing if you can resuscitate it. Yeah, I want you to keep doing that. You go on and keep doing that. Meanwhile, we'll be working on things that actually do have some viability, but let them pour all their resources and time into this. It's already finished. It's already done with, but let them keep trying. They can do that. They can do that. Hell, I'd hire cheerleaders and cheer them on if we can keep doing it. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here tonight. If you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the Haven of Intelligent Black Thought. We do this every weekend, holidays, some days in between. Click that red subscribe button. Click that notification bell. Join us each and every time that we're here. If you haven't been to blackchannelfilms.com, check out our groundbreaking best-selling documentary work, blackchannelfilms.com. That is blackchannelfilms.com. I want to thank everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program. That's Cedric, Muffy, Akeem, not sure what you mean there, but if it can be acted on, the Dominant Society may. JM, Fear to None, and everybody else here tonight. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, black is the future, and the future is